All right. Okay. It's 6:31. I'd like to call the July 21st. I'd like to call the July 21st meeting of the Marvin Planning Board to order. I see we have a full quorum with all members present online. 9 here in the Village Hall. So we have quorum. Has everyone reviewed the agenda? Any comments or anything?
Not for me.
Okay. Let me restate again that I will call just to aid the Austin now and putting everybody. I will call a roll call vote on everything. When necessary.
I appreciate it.
Anyway, I'd like to add an additional new item number 1 under items of discussion and move everything else down. Just to a brief comment about a couple items that have come up since the agenda was put together. And I don't think it necessarily requires discussion,
You'll need a title for that item.
Let's see, new.
What are you talking about?
Well, new updates, that may affect the planning board. How about that?
Okay. New updates that may affect the planning board.
What are the updates regarding?
The what?
What are the updates regarding?
Well, the previous council meeting and also email that Christina sent to me about a proposed meeting.
Is it possible that we could do the CUPs first and then talk about the updates as the applicants are here?
Okay, we can do that. That's fine. Then we'd make that item number 3 and move those down.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
Okay. Any other comments? Discussion? I'd make a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. All in favor? Or need a second?
I'll second, Melinda.
Okay. All in favor? Let's see. Go down the list.
All right, we got hands.
We can see everybody's
Yeah, that's
hands.
good. We can get hands, Mike.
Okay.
All right. That's great.
All right, so let's, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. Public comment period. Oh, no. Adoption of the meeting minutes of 6/16/20. Any revisions, comments by anybody? Sorry. I see head shaking. Everybody okay with them then? Motion to approve.
Motion so made.
All right, second.
I'll second it.
That's Kelly. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Now, moving forward. Public comments. Anybody? There's no one here. Has anybody signed up on call in?
How do you want to handle the public comments regarding the CUPs?
Well, I think we'd cover those, at that time.
Okay. Well, in that case, I could check the list,
Yeah.
but I think the only public comment was for the first CUP.
Okay.
We could just go ahead and knock it out now.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's true.
You have the written statement by Mike Gilboy there.
Okay.
No one is here. Is there anyone online or on the web that wants to? Is that something that you want to?
Yeah. Any online public comments from anyone other than regarding the CUP, which we'll cover individually? No comments? Close the public comment period. Okay, first item of discussion, CUP number 20-12, 459.
Okay, great. I would like to open that up. So we have two today, applications for a pool that is in a rear yard that abuts another side yard. As most of you are familiar, that requires a conditional use permit per the ordinance, the swimming pool ordinance 151.054E3. And so I've included in the packet just the application and a sketch that shows for each of them how that is a rear yard, where the rear yard and where it abuts the side yard. So for this application, we do have the applicant present, but before we dive into letting them speak, I think we established that the planning board would like to take a vote to allow other people to speak freely within any given topic. So would you like to entertain that vote?
As long as we can, would everybody okay with having the applicants and stuff make their presentation? Anyone else regarding the CUP?
Okay, let's,
We need let's see.
I have no
One, two,
I'm fine with it.
okay, looks like unanimous.
okay, so Dawn Poor is the applicant for this one, and she's in the call, so if you're able, you can unmute yourself and explain some of the, you can explain some of the aspects, or I can. I don't think there was a motion.
The
It
one,
was just consensus. That there wasn't a motion or a vote, it was just consensus.
yeah, I think it
Okay.
was just a consent.
Alright, so she's not talking right now, so I guess I'll introduce the issue. Okay,
Okay.
so this is, this is a corner house. The house is facing Wyndham Lane, but the house behind it is on Appomattox Drive.
Yes,
The-
Appomattox.
Appomattox, okay, sorry, thanks. The pool would be 50 feet from the property line, and there's already plenty of screening. I've been out there, and there are 2 rows of trees. They want to plant even more trees and put the fence, right where the property line is. The applicant said it is their intention to screen themselves thoroughly from all of their neighbors, including the one in the back. The pool itself is plenty compliant. The minimum setback is 20 feet and theirs is 50. But regardless, because the CUP is required, we're here today. We also have...
Can I just ask you,
Yeah.
you said something about fencing, and you said they're gonna put the fence on the property line?
Yeah, right now it's about 5 feet in front of the property line. So they just want to relocate the fence where on the property line.
I'm just curious how that would work with that, there was a great deal of tree cover
Mm-hmm.
between the 2 houses, and I'm wondering whether moving the fence would disrupt some of that tree cover.
Yeah, they're going to remove the trees that are on the property line so that they can put their fence there. So roughly where I've drawn that blue line is where the property line is. So they will have to remove some trees, but they're going to plant. They said they're going to plant 22 trees in and around the yard, in addition to the trees that they're not needing to remove.
Rohit, what kind of trees are we talking about? Are we talking like full coverage, like is what's similar to what's there right now?
I don't think it'll be similar to what's there right now, but because they need to plant evergreens, as per our ordinance, and those trees that are there are not evergreens. I'm gonna pull up a picture of the species that they're planning on planting.
Is the note here on the site plan, Rohit, Says
Yeah.
20 or 22 ligustrums.
Yes, yes.
I assume that says 7-gallon.
Yeah, 7-gallon pot. So they're, let's see. I'm gonna screen share in a second. Give me that second. Let's see, alright. Screen, where's my mouse, come on. Alright. So we got Home Depot. That's not quite it. Let's see, privacy bushes is what I'm getting on Google for this. Why is it opening up in a different window? But anyway, the point of this species of tree is that it's a full, full width, full height foliage, and it's an evergreen.
It's more like a bush, not a tree.
It is more like a bush. That's true.
Okay.
But 7-gallon, I guess, is a pretty good size.
Yeah, that's a typical size. Yep. That's not it. I suppose that would mean, okay, so if the bush is not tall enough, that's a privet ligustrum. I don't know what kind they're planting. I can't tell from this drawing, but that's one that grows, looks like 6 foot. It could be said that you have to make them plant a specific species that grows up to 6 feet as part of the approval.
I don't necessarily think we have to go that far, but especially because it looks like they have a lot of coverage. I'd just be interested to see how many of those trees that are currently there are going to be taken down due to the fence. Because right now it looks like from the pictures they have really good screening
Yeah.
already. Yeah.
But, the overall dimension of that thing that they're going, looks like it's 40, 80,
Let's go in there.
couple hundred feet. So they're planting these shrubs about 10 feet on center, roughly.
Yes, that would mean they'd have to plant them a little bit closer.
Yeah.
That's what the tree cover looks like right now. Oh wait, where'd I go? Yeah, okay. That's Google Earth. We can kind of drop in there. Suppose you're getting the idea. You can already barely see through it, but there's 2 rows of trees, and they'll need to remove a few of at least one to put their fence on the property line, which is right here. If you can see my mouse where I'm dragging the cursor, that's where they're gonna have to put their fence. So any trees that are, in the way of that fence, they'll remove it, but then they have to replant trees, and they'll do it on this
So
side.
their property line literally runs right up their driveway and their neighbor's basketball post and all?
Not in the driveway, but I can show you here. The property line is. Let's draw that. Let's draw that on here, and then switch to satellite. That's where the line is. Is that fair? That's where the property line is.
Quick question. I assume the main people who have a legitimate interest in this is those neighbors right there. Have they been consulted? Are they okay with it? Have they voiced any concerns with the plan?
This neighbor here, they did voice opposition to the pool permit.
What did they state a reason? It's their garage faces the side that yard, so
Right. Let's see. I'm gonna search that email up.
Are there any other letters Or is just that one person?
We have a letter here from the HOA president, Mike Gilboy. And
Is he in favor or against?
he said they had three requirements. That the project could not make any major changes without reapproval of their board. And most important, he needed to have screening from the two abutting lots. And the pool equipment could not be visible from the street or any homeowner, so the pool equipment will have to be covered. And also, they were concerned about drainage and the, I guess the contractor, or I'm not sure which name is which, contractor or the homeowner said that the drainage would drain back into the pool and not run out.
Okay, so I have found the email.
Ultimately, they said that with those caveats, they were okay with the application. The HOA was.
The HOA is good with it?
Yeah, that's what the letter is saying.
Yeah.
It said they had an extensive conversation with the contractor and were satisfied with the screening and general design that they were proposing.
So in terms of the neighborhood rules, what is this, Wyndham Lakes?
It is on the border of Wyndham Hall and Bridle Path, where the applicant lives in Wyndham Hall and the side yard neighbor is in Bridle Path.
Okay. All right. And the side yard neighbor, did they submit a letter with their feelings, or?
They did send me an email. I don't think they specifically submitted it for this, like to be considered as a public comment, but I would like to state they were concerned about the drainage, as there's a creek here that runs in between these two neighborhoods, and they want to ensure that the drainage will not, the excess impervious area will not increase the like the water level of the creek. But we don't consider pools to be impervious surface, because pools actually
So
do
was
hold water.
was that their only concern? They didn't have a problem?
No, they also mentioned that they had concerns about the screening. They did say that, where the fence is right now causes currently the property owner who's applying for the pool, it causes difficulty in maintaining those trees. But that is one of the things that the property owner wanted to also help mitigate by putting the fence on the other side of the trees. They can then maintain the trees and the screening better.
So is the fence on the
Yeah.
existing fence?
The existing fence. The existing fence is on the house, the house side of the trees, even though the property line is on the other side. So the existing fence is right about here. So that means the poor family who owns this house, that's their name, they can't feasibly maintain this tree area without going well into the Barbara family area, and so they don't. But that's one of the things that they complained about. But by moving the fence here, all of the screening landscaping is now on their side of the fence.
Is there any issue from a code perspective of them putting that fence right on the property line there, or is that totally fine?
No, that's totally fine. In fact, that's recommended.
So that's nothing that is in our purview here. Like, they can put that fence there whether they build a pool or not.
Right. Yeah, and in fact, we had a conversation separately from the pool that they could move their fence today without a permit, even because we don't permit for fences.
Okay?
Now, as long as they have a fence around the perimeter of the yard,
Mm-hmm.
that serves the purpose of fencing the pool from a
Code standpoint, yeah.
standpoint, which actually is that a county or state requirement?
State.
State, that's what I was thinking.
Rohit, you said you visited the site personally?
Sorry, what was that?
Did you visit the site personally, you said?
I did.
Okay, do you see any issues? Well,
Well, I didn't want to inject my own opinion into this because this is kind of a test of why we have a CUP in the first place. But one of the things that does stand out to me the most is really that, you know, where the pool is going here is almost, you know, it is almost equivalent to, like, if on paper this this back here was the rear yard line. You know, this house is kind of diagonal, right? So if this back here was the rear yard line, where the pool is going is still relatively behind the Barbara house, like rear face, if you will.
So the pool's going way over there, okay.
Right.
yeah.
So in essence, I think this could be if the backyard line here was the rear yard line, it would be basically indistinguishable and we wouldn't even be here. And also, I think that with 50 feet of distance, when the minimum is 20, and with screening, it would be acceptable.
So what is it, I'm sorry if it's written up and I missed it. What is the exception here that this isn't an automatic? Why do they need conditional use?
Because the yard that is on paper as the pool's rear yard is adjacent to the Barbara side yard, and any pool that goes in a rear yard that abuts a side yard has to go through a conditional use permit.
Regardless of the footage?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that even applies to from one neighborhood to the next, huh?
Yes,
It's kind of
yes.
unusual,
It is unusual, for sure.
but I mean, I can certainly see where this applicant, from their perspective, they're trying to put a pool in their backyard.
Right.
And they're not asking for anything else other from a setback perspective or.
No, there's no like cabanas or anything like that that are often in other pool. It's just the
So
pool
this is
and
strictly because you have to have a conditional use this is judged to be this other guy's side yard.
right. This okay, yeah. This so where I've drawn, you know, in that picture, the property line that they share is the Poor's rear yard and is the Barbara side yard, and it's just in that case that you need to apply for a conditional use permit.
The way I look at it, I mean, I'm looking at, they both have their driveway entrances facing each other. I mean, they're staggered. I mean, that looks like side to side to me.
Yeah, and that is often the case with corner houses, like especially when they're angled like that. In this case, it's just kind of weird, but the pool is going in kind of the corner, but is basically in the back.
Okay, well, that's reasonable, okay.
And
Any other?
just
Go ahead, John, sorry.
clarification for everybody, because I think we had some conversations, you know, in this group previously about how we handle conditional use permits. And I clarified it with the village attorney, is that, you know, technically it is a quasi-judicial for the council, but we only make a recommendation to the council, so we don't handle it as a quasi-judicial hearing. So, you know, we handle it just as
Yeah, just as any other item.
as any other item, and then we make a recommendation to the council, and then they will handle it as a quasi-judicial, since it is a conditional use permit.
Okay, okay, thank you. The folks that are the neighbors not getting the pool, so they wanted to have no drainage impact, you got that covered, right?
Yeah, the contractor said they can build the pool in a way that it drains towards the pool.
That makes sense. So those trees belong to the applicant.
Yes. There's one tree that doesn't, but they're not gonna touch that. It's all the way back here.
All right, and the other, that fence there's no issue regardless of how close it is to their driveway or whatever. They're allowed to put up that fence. and then that'll help them maintain those trees, which the other neighbors said that they wanted them to do?
Right.
Okay,
Right,
so is there any other problems the neighbor had besides the drainage and the trees not being maintained?
Let me finish going through this email. They did state that this pool, they were upset that the driveway is, close to the property line, which in their opinion puts the pool, very close to their driveway. That is something that they stated in the email.
It seems to me their driveway was built right on the property line.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
You have
and
to
the,
look at the applicant's driveway is, like most, which is plenty distant from the
And-
property line.
and the proposed pool is well over the required setback.
yeah, the normal side yard, setback is, 20, and rear yard setback is 20, but they've got 50 feet, from the pool to the property line.
Okay, and was there, so in terms of the trees that are gonna be put up, that's all within the requirement of the code or whatnot?
I think I will still have to ask the contractor to put a few more trees in. I don't think they're spaced closely enough to provide that 90% opacity. But that's something that happens like pretty routinely. Like applicant, even a non-CUP, they'll say, here's our landscaping plan. I have to come back to them and say, you need to plant more trees. And
Yeah,
they just
that's
revise
what
that.
I'm thinking,
Yeah.
that we need, because I think our ordinance is pretty heavy on screening.
Yeah, they say 90% opacity with evergreens. And I just don't think the spacing of this is enough, but I can
Because I
ask
think
them
it looks
to.
like it's gonna be roughly every 10 feet,
Yeah.
just trying to guess.
Right.
But, so they sent an email to you, Rohit, but they didn't like file anything like as a public comment saying we don't want this to happen or anything like that?
No, they didn't file this as that. This was in June, so this was before we even established that this was going to be a CUP with a public hearing. I do anticipate that they will come or make a comment to the council directly.
Okay.
Rohit, can you hear me? This is James Woodward speaking.
Yes.
Yeah,
Good evening, everyone. We're the neighbor in the drawing on the rear of the Poor's home. We're at 513 Wyndham. Our property meets along the fence line in the
Okay.
direct rear
So you-
of their home.
Okay, so to clarify, you're this neighbor.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
so before you start speaking, I think the planning board will have to allow you
Yeah.
we'll have to vote to give you, the floor, if that's,
Okay,
if you don't
stand
mind
by,
waiting.
thank you.
Stand by. We'll go back to the camera so we can get a vote here.
feelings, members, allow the,
Okay, you're in trouble.
all right, 1, 2, 3, everybody, Michael?
Yeah, of course, I'd like to hear from them.
Okay,
Okay,
so we'll allow,
alright. Okay, so back to, Mr. Woodward, could you restate your name and address for the record?
There are James Woodward and Janet Woodward, 513 Wyndham.
Mm-hmm.
Our
That's
property
this house
is
here.
directly connected to the Poors at the rear of their property. We share a fence line at the rear of their home, at the side of our home. And we just wanted to say to the council that we've spoken at length with Dawn and Chris regarding their plan for screening when they put the pool in. And we feel comfortable with the extent of planting that they're committing to do along their side that faces our property, allowing us to have the appropriate screening on both sides. So at this point, we have no opposition to their plan as has been communicated to us.
thank
Okay.
you, thank you.
Good, thank you.
Sure. Just to clarify, that this line that I've drawn here, can you all see my screen? Am I screen sharing right now or no?
You're not.
All
Put it
right,
back
all right.
up,
Yeah, I'll put it back up.
because at first glance, it looked like the Woodwards had more of the real side to subside the rear.
Right, right. In fact, that is kind of true. That is true on the ground, but on paper, the Poors and the Woodwards actually share a side yard. So the line that I've drawn here, this line, is actually the Poors side yard, and is also the Woodward side yard. So that's not relevant. That's not really that relevant in the CUP or requiring the CUP. But I guess it is relevant to know that the Woodwards have even less of a screening currently, and that they're okay with the Poors pool. So that might be a good thing to know.
All right. Any other information to consider?
That would be all the questions I had, unless anybody else.
I'm good. I'm ready to vote.
Anyone make, I'd like to at least make the caveat that the planner has to verify that we have sufficient screening to meet our code requirement.
Yeah, I can definitely add that in the conditional use permit as action of the planning board, included, making sure that the screening was increased.
Yeah, or it
Yeah,
does meet
and I would
yeah.
echo that. The way I'm leaning on voting is contingent upon there is no other exception other than the fact that where this house sits, it kind of legally sort of set aside the back with, a little gray area. But if there was any other thing like that, I would want to make sure there was no other exception made.
Yeah. And I think that the pool screening is whether it be side yard, rear yard, anything, isn't it?
Yeah, any yard is required to be screened. So either side, regardless of the CUP, every adjacent neighbor has to be screened from view. That's just what John is asking.
Yeah. And the other caveat I'd say is just, the HOA letter says that the Poors are going to cover the equipment, but we need to make sure that that is in fact one of the conditions.
Right. That's also not explicitly stated in the application, but is required for compliance. So
Yeah.
I can, again, I can include that as the condition to whatever your vote is.
Any other comments by anybody?
Unless anybody else has further questions, I would make a move to recommend approval.
All right, subject to those two conditions.
Correct.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Seconded.
Who was that second?
That was Michael.
Michael? Either, Rohit, you got to pull the pictures up. Or
Oh, yeah,
got
yeah.
to
1 second.
have a roll call.
Yep. All right. 1 second. We're,
Everybody to pop up.
yep.
Okay, all in favor? Unanimous? Thank you. So that will go to the council.
That'll go to the council at their August 11th meeting.
August 11th.
And that will be a public hearing. That will be advertised and mailed and all that stuff.
Okay. All right, moving on. Get my agenda packed up.
Who's making all that noise? That mute you. Sorry.
Item number 2, CUP 20-12469.
All right, give me 1 second to
Okay.
note all the things from the previous one. So, thanks. Okay, I am ready. So let's switch gears here a little bit. The situation for the reason why this is a CUP is the exact same. There is a person who is interested in building a pool, and their rear yard abuts a side yard of a neighbor. I'm gonna share my screen again and take you there. This one is in Tullamore. It's a similar situation where it's a rear yard it's a corner house, so the rear yard abuts the side yard. Here's the house. I think you should all be able to see my screen right now. The address, okay, thank you. The address is 240 Walker's Bluff Court. You can see it in my the diagram that I drew here in the in the packet, but also I'm going to draw it on the screen. That's the rear yard, and this is kind of more clear where the rear yard of the applicant is adjacent to the side yard of the neighbor on Rocky Hollow. This pool is a little even further back. The distance from the pool water is 70 feet. This doesn't quite show it, so let me show the current day aerial. They already have evergreens planted around the outside, which is why the application did not include the evergreens. And those evergreens would constitute compliance with that 90%. The question you John had at least, is that there's a guy with a pool next door. Interestingly enough, looking at the plat for this side house, this property line is actually considered that rear yard. So this pool here was actually a rear yard abutting a rear yard, and so it did not require a CUP. But this line that I've drawn here is the side yard of that house on Rocky Hollow Drive, so that's why this is requiring the CUP today. So similarly to the previous one, the applicant has already obtained the HOA approval from Tullamore HOA. I got that letter, I printed it out, it's very generic. This one's a pretty generic
Yeah,
letter.
this one, basically says debris must be removed, and, other than that, they didn't have any,
Right, I think they just,
conditions.
yeah, they just gave a generic, this pool is, compliant with our general regulations. I don't think they have anything about rear yard and side yard in their rules. So we
Was
have,
there
yeah, go
any
ahead.
comments from the neighbor?
I didn't receive any comments from the neighbor, but I did hear that the applicant did talk to their neighbor, and the neighbor was okay with that proposal.
So they're representing that they're all good and the neighbor has not said otherwise.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything from the neighbor directly. But also that applicant is here, and I think if you would like to allow him to, make his comments, would you like to take that for a consensus?
Would we like to hear from the applicant?
I move we let him speak, yes.
All in favor? All right.
Okay. Nag, is there anything that you would like to say?
Is he muted or are you muting?
I did mute him, but I don't want to unmute him in case he's doing something else.
Mhm.
I'll let him unmute himself.
Well,
While we're waiting, I might say that I did disable private chat for the meeting. So in the public chat, Don Poor said thank you for everyone's time this evening.
Yeah, can you guys hear me now?
Yes,
Yep.
we can.
Yeah. Yeah, so hey guys, good evening all. So we already have the metal fence all over the property, and the trees are on the property, and it's all like 3 to 4 trees. So we are like putting the pole, which is like, I think it's going to be like almost 70 feet away from the neighbor's property. And we got our HOA approved, and neighbors also are okay with that. So I hope this will help us to get this approved.
Yeah.
well, let's see, have you been to this site, Rohit?
I haven't been to this site. I didn't see any problems with it in the just looking at it on Google, so I didn't feel like I needed to.
And I'm questioning the shrubbery along that, quote, rear yard, side yard. Looks like every other shrub, you got a big one and a little one. What kind of coverage do we have there?
And this is also probably several years old.
Could
This
be,
Google
yeah.
image.
Sure, I will go Street View and see what the year is on it. Yeah, this says December 2018, so it is actually pretty old. You're right. Where am I? Rocky Hollow? That's the yard.
Well, that answers one of my questions too. I see a fence there.
Yeah. So that's the property they're putting they're wanting to put the pool, and this is the existing.
Okay, and those are current photos?
This is of 2018.
Well-
A couple of years ago.
Okay.
But
That
does
certainly looks like 90% coverage, right?
is that what it looks like today essentially, Nag?
No, it's old. It's like 2018. Now we have the fruit trees are grown very good, and you don't even see the outside from the street.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, if that's the case, if those trees are all mature, there's blockage and no issues from the neighbor, unless anyone else says anything, I would move that we approve it.
Yeah, like I said, we've got the fence covered and is demonstrated in the photos there now. Do we need to, does equipment have to be covered too here?
It does.
All
The
right.
equipment has to be screened from
Or
you.
screen?
The external screening, if it suffices, then
Mhm.
you don't need to do anything extra for the equipment.
Oh, you mean the pool screening would cover it?
Yeah, if you can't see the equipment because of the screening you put for the pool, you don't need to put extra screening for the equipment.
Okay, okay.
Sometimes that's not the case because the equipment is like way over there compared to the pool, and you have to, screen that too. But
All right.
since this whole yard is screened, I don't see where they could put the equipment that wouldn't also be screened.
Okay. Any other comments by anybody? I'd entertain a motion. Anybody?
Mark, Megan,
Do
I
it.
move we approve and send to council.
All right.
second,
Second by
Kelly
Kelly,
seconded.
Michael, we need to get their pictures up.
Oh yeah, 1
All
second.
right.
Okay. So can you? Yeah.
Okay. All in favor? Yep.
All right,
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Approved.
All right. Thank you. Great. So now it's on to you, John.
Okay, all right, just a couple things that came up, one, just in case anybody did not know, the council at their meeting last week removed Chris Smith from the planning board. I don't know whether everybody knew that or not, but just so that you know it. So we've got a vacancy. I don't know whether there are any applicants in the stream.
Ask him.
We do have an applicant in. They will go before council at the next meeting, the work
Okay.
session.
All right, so we may have a new member, by this time next month. And then secondly, I received an email from Christina. I guess it was after the last council meeting, just letting me and the chairman of the Parks and Greenway Board know that the council's planning on having a town hall style meeting sometime in the fall and desires the attendance of both boards. That would be us and the Parks and Greenway Board. There's still discussion locations, topics, etc. If anybody has any suggestions they want to pass along, let her know. And we'll know later on what these dates may be. Just getting a heads up. And basically it would be a free forum for the public to engage and be informed of what's going on and ask questions. So that's coming sometime this fall. So
John? Is that after before or after the land use plan is approved by council?
That depends on when the land use plan is approved.
yeah, well, it's the land use plan hasn't gone totally to with maps and everything else to them, and depends on when the council holds that meeting, which we will when we get back into the land use plan this evening and Roy goes over schedules. You may have noticed something for public involvement meetings, which we will be doing with the public for the land use plan proper.
So the purpose of this kind of town hall is just to keep the public informed? Are we looking for certain types of feedback? Like, is there?
You know as much as I do at this moment.
So I can fill this in because I was there, and Christina is on the WebEx too, so if she would like to, she can jump in too. This was initiated by the council at a previous meeting. They wanted to use this as an opportunity to improve the communication between us, the government, and the general public. And so the idea was to have a town hall. Like, it's just a forum for, everyone to come and ask whatever questions that they want, to have that direct one-on-one interaction with anyone from any board who's there, without the restriction of the public comments that we have at these meetings. So there's not really a set purpose or like direction or set topics that the council was trying to address. They just wanted they wanted to invite both of the other boards, so that if anyone comes and with a question, they can get it asked, they can get it answered by whoever is the appropriate person to answer that.
Got it.
So, not that we need to do anything about it right this moment, but I just wanted everybody to be aware that it's off in the horizon somewhere to come up.
Mm-hmm. They're still trying to pick a venue that is allowing them to have an event like that.
And it would probably have to be after we go into phase 3 or something
Yeah,
else, I would
yeah,
guess.
Exactly. The time frame of that meeting is definitely dependent on when we could even be allowed to host such a meeting.
It certainly sounds like we have plenty of time to add feedback.
Yeah, like I said, I just wanted you'd be aware that it's out there.
Yeah, they're eyeing the fall for this meeting, maybe early fall.
September, October.
Yeah, September, October.
Yeah.
Christina, do you want to say anything else about that?
No, I was getting ready to say it was going to be probably September. So if y'all have any questions that you, or not questions, but topics that you wish to kind of put out there, just let me know for the council to consider. They wanted citizens to submit questions in advance, but they also wanted to have the opportunity for people to ask questions on something as well. And it's really just an open forum, it's my understanding, to just kind of let everyone know what's going on and what we've got on the horizon. So there's not really a set protocol. We will have that a little more established close to the date, but we're still assessing all of what council desires to have on that agenda.
So Christina, I know this is kind of a quasi off topic, but is this also going to be a time where, neighbors are going to be able to come and they're going to just have to say whatever they think, or is there's going to be, people have to stick to specific questions and topics?
I would expect that they would have a set agenda, and that would be what is the engaged topics. I don't know how much engagement will be going on with questions that aren't submitted in advance, but I can definitely address that question with council and get back to you guys on an answer of that. I'm not really sure to answer you truthfully.
Yeah, I think the format and the setup of it is going to inform the tone of the town hall, and I just hope it's a productive meeting. And
yeah, and that's the intent. So I mean, hopefully that's what happens. But I will definitely ask the question to council and let you know. We have a meeting coming up next week, so I'll get back to you with that question.
All right, thanks.
Anything else? Moving on.
Okay, great. Okay, so the discussion of council, PRG, board comments, and land use plan. That's great. So I took the land use plan to the council a few months ago. They did review it, and then they had a whole item about it at their June 25th work session, which they went through the whole, chapters 1 through 5, and all provided their comments. And then I took that section of comments that had to do with the parks and Greenway, which was, chapter 5, section F, And I took that to the PRG board at their July, whichever their meeting, whatever the day was, 7th maybe,
Sounds right.
meeting. And so this highlighted sections of the land use plan reflect all of the adjustments or revisions that the council wanted to discuss. In addition to some draft versions of the actual maps that are going in, this is going to be a lot closer to the final, version, like the final draft. So this is going to be kind of a deep dive of, I guess each major revision. Of course, the grammatical revisions I'm not going to really talk about too much. I guess there's no way to do it except to just dive into it, right? Okay, so let's see. They wanted to use a different picture for Mayor's Festival in the first page, page 4, because that they said, if we're not doing Mayor's, it's not something that represents the current land use plan.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay. Actually, this brings me to another point. How do you want to handle the discussion of these things? Like, do you want to chime in when you want to say something, or do you want to hold it to the end? Maybe chapter by chapter. I don't know.
I'd say, unless there's a major concern on someone's part, if the council's wanting this, most of the stuff I think we can go through, can accept just as submitted. Maybe.
Okay, all right. So
if someone has, if we come to something that we have a major concern about, maybe we need to discuss it and perhaps go back to them and say, this was our thought.
Sure. There's not actually that much.
No.
So let's see. Second bullet, it used to say base maintenance. I think that was a typo. It now says basic maintenance.
Okay.
Then on lower on page 5, the second bullet point, number 3, it used to say peculiar suitability. They wanted to change that to particular suitability.
All right, so all these you've already corrected.
Yeah.
Right.
The highlighted things are different than what was before. And then the bullet under that, they added the word historic.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally in the footnote, we will talk about this later in the agenda today, but 160D was actually enacted in June, whereas it was going to be enacted in January of next year. So that does change a little bit of that page. Let's see, so page 6, the council did adopt a new vision statement and mission statement. So I actually am gonna, confirm what those new ones are, and then replace the old vision statement with the new one.
So you don't have that?
I do have that, but I didn't have that when I was revising this. It's still in a report from the retreat.
Rohit.
Yeah.
I think it's actually updated on our website.
It's where?
It should be updated on our website already.
Oh, it's on our website already. Okay, great. Well, then I'll have that for. Do you want me to pull that up right now, just to see what it says? Let's see. Is that?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
We ought to see it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see if I can find it real fast.
I'm not sure that we could get them to change it, but we ought to see what it says.
Let's see. Operating budget. Where would it be, Austin? Can you help me find it?
Try under government.
Maybe village council. Just click that.
There it is, council.
Oh yeah. Okay. Let me screen share this so you can just read along with me. Let's see. All right. So real quick. Let's see. The council mission statement is this: we strive to create a vibrant community with high quality of life through transparent leadership, efficient governance, and responsive services. Shoot, someone is causing me feedback. Let me. I gotta fix that. I can't hear myself. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. And then the vision statement says, the village of Marvin will be a welcoming and vibrant residential community with amenities that create community, offer recreation, and celebrate heritage. And so they just really, they made it really short.
I was gonna say,
So I think both of those, mission statement and vision statement, will replace the old vision statement paragraph in where it is here on page 6 and again on page 26, I think.
Hey, Rohit, just tell me again who's making these changes?
What do you mean? Like, I'm the one revising the actual land use plan.
Gotcha.
Each month. I do it when I get to it.
Yeah. Well, you kept saying they changed it, or they.
Oh no, the council changed the vision statement.
So this is the council's own version of what they want their vision statement to be.
Right, they did. This was what was in the land use plan was the old vision statement that was active for many years. I don't know how many years, but recently the council changed the vision statement. Like independent of the land use plan, they just changed their vision statement.
I understand. Well, I guess I'm confused. It's not like we would recommend that they unchange what they've already done, right? I mean, what is our purview here?
Oh, I'm just saying that paragraph is going to be replaced with this new vision statement. I don't think that's something that I'm actually.
So you're just kind of FYI.
Yeah. That particular revision is just an FYI.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Sorry, should have clarified that. Okay, let's see. So let's see. Moving on in that land use plan, they wanted to add the words elaborated in chapter 5, where it says on page 6, the core planning policies, just to tell readers that it's not just a list. We actually go in depth.
okay.
Let's see. And similarly, they wanted to, on page 7, link the specific bullets to locations where they're talked about more in chapter 5. I'm going to have to replace the pictures of zoning that were the old zoning maps where it says new pics here. I just realized that when I printed this on page 8, this kind of a low resolution picture, but the current village zoning I thought would be an appropriate map to put at the end of the executive summary.
Okay.
If you have any comments on that, that was something that I added. Other than the quality itself, which I realized I need to export a high quality version into this map. Okay. Hearing none. Moving on. We have page 11. One of the council members said that they would consider the whole section 2.3 methodology to belong in the executive summary. That's something I think warrants a little bit of discussion if you want to change that or leave that there.
Hey, Rohit,
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. I'm having technical issues. I've lost my mouse, and I'm having a hard time pulling up their comments. Would you be able to share your screen just so I can see what's happening?
Yes, I sure can. So
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Give me one moment. I will pull up that land use plan on my shared screen.
Thanks.
In fact, I should have been doing that this whole time. All right. Is that good? As in, can you see my screen and can you see?
Yeah, she said.
Okay, she said thumbs up. Okay, thank you. All right. So here we are, 2.3. They wanted to discuss moving that to the executive summary. They said that's where they think this section belongs.
So in the executive summary, we had basically just 2 sentences, and they want the whole paragraph in there, you think?
That's what I gathered, yeah. Where I think it would go if you do choose to move it is right there on page 9, between the two sections, between public priorities and public input analysis.
Or, well, because there's already a heading of methodology there.
Oh yeah, so even then, just put it right there,
Yeah,
like under methodology.
or just take that out and insert this.
That could work too.
I mean, is that what they're thinking?
Um,
Because all we had in there, create rules and conservation categories, assessments made it possible to assess the degree which certain sentiments emerge and reoccur across open. Yeah.
Robert?
yeah.
Paul, I'm also relying on sort of your screenshots to see what's going on, because other than that, I just have my cell phone. So
Okay.
this is the whole of section 2.3?
Yeah, the section 2.3 methodology is just this part
Okay.
here, and they wanted to discuss moving it to the executive summary.
Normally, a summary would not just repeat what's in the body of the document, but if this section is as short as it appears, I don't think there's anything wrong with just including it word for word in the executive summary as well.
Yeah, I think, John, that's what you were saying too,
That's
right?
what it looks like maybe they meant, and
So would you like to just insert section 2.3 under where it says methodology in the executive summary on page 9, which is boop-a-dee-doop, right here?
I guess that, yeah.
I mean, my gut reaction is that's a little overkill, but I wouldn't object.
I'm not gonna, lose sleep over it, but yeah, like I said, it looks like overkill compared to everything else. And it, once again, becomes redundant, which we were trying to eliminate some of the redundancies. But if that makes them happy, I'm okay with it. Any other conversation? So I guess we'll insert that.
Okay.
I'm fine with that, no
Yeah.
comment from me.
All right then. Moving on, I have to get back to where I was. So I'm still working on this map, but I think it looks a lot better than it did before. It just I'm trying to kind of depict where in this. I mean, obviously in this map you see where it is in North Carolina, and this map you see where Marvin is in the Charlotte area. But I'm open to just any suggestions, and maybe if you could just give me these suggestions in an email or something, just on how to make this map look. Like what would you want to see in the splash page of the community profile on where Marvin is in the context of the state and the city, Charlotte, I suppose.
I'm not even sure whether the small map on page 12 is necessary, is it? Or
Well, I guess not.
I don't know.
Why do we need the North Carolina map?
I don't know if need is the right word, but just to say, I mean, it was there to say that, this is where Marvin is in the context of, what's important, in North Carolina and Charlotte.
Kelly, a lot of people know that Charlotte's in North Carolina, so that first map,
I didn't hear it.
He's saying a lot of people don't know that Charlotte is in North Carolina. It's becoming a little bit of a...
It's like, if this is for a developer, or for, if the purpose of this is for potential, people moving in, for developers, they will know that Marvin is in North Carolina. I don't know, I don't get the point of the North Carolina map. I think the bottom map is fine, just to show us proximity to Charlotte and South Carolina.
Sure.
Just over the border.
Yeah,
Sure. Okay. Well, then I'll still like work on that map to make it more, make it pop a little bit. But I hear what you're saying. Okay. And then this map on page 13 is now the current Village of Marvin boundary. That's just something, an FYI, that I updated. So the newest census data is out, but I still have to replace it. But on page 17, the council said it kind of doesn't make sense to include solid waste facilities. I gotta scroll down, but I remember to do that.
okay.
It doesn't make sense to include solid waste facilities because we don't handle that. So why not just delete that whole paragraph? Is what they said.
Well,
So I'll ask again, so the point of this document is, like, who is the audience?
Really anyone. As you said, developers, current residents, future planning boards and councils.
people wanting to move in. or-
Yeah, anyone that wants to know what Marvin is about currently and what it is about in the near future.
So, I mean, the fact that we don't handle solid waste, I think it's still important for people to know that we don't handle solid waste. We do rely on Union County for that. I mean, it's, especially for
I think
developer. If I was a developer, I'd want to know that.
Yeah,
Well, and private, private collections.
and we state that it's by private collectors.
Private collector sounds like you're an art collector, but you're collecting waste.
Yeah, I think relevant, I think that's a relevant data.
No, it's also relevant, because, like, for instance, when my neighborhood had a development going up against it, they were gonna put a pump station right in my neighbor's backyard on the other side, next to the in the development section, but right next to their backyard. And that's not a Marvin issue, we have to now, talk to Union County because there's a bigger plan. So, it does affect us in ways that we don't control, because we don't control that, it does affect our planning and development.
But let me throw something out that just dawned on me. We address water and, currently in the document, we address water, sewer, and solid waste, with no conversation about power or gas. I mean, so should we make a comment about all of them, or why do we have any of it?
I mean, is there a way to maybe do maybe instead of just a solid waste section, just condense all of those just to say what Marvin currently offers or what we currently have available to residents and businesses?
Well, we don't.
I don't think we offer anything.
We don't offer any utilities. We don't offer water and sewer.
Right, but you can't tie into them as a resident or a business if you're in the right spot.
Yeah, I mean,
I think your point, if your point is to suggest we ought to add those things, I think I'm in agreement. If what you're trying to do is point out that we don't cover the landscape and therefore we should pull this stuff out, I lean toward adding those other things.
yeah, that's the point I was.
Okay.
The point I was making. It's just as applicable. Solid waste is just as applicable as water and sewer, but then so are power and gas.
If it means anything to note that we had a website committee meeting and that was one of the things that someone brought up. They said, I just moved to Marvin and I didn't know how to hook up any of my things. I had to ask around. I wish there was some sort of guide. And this page right here could be that guide. If we replace solid waste facilities paragraph I don't think there's any reason to have a whole paragraph about how we don't, handle that, but just replace it with here are all the different people that handle all the different utilities, just kind of like a table maybe, like a bullet points or something like that.
What about our council liaison? Does he have any comments? Bob?
No, I mean, we discussed this, and it's basically pretty straightforward. It didn't apply to, like you just said, Rohit, you did an excellent job of saying it. It was just that there was no need for it to be there since we don't provide anything, that's all. That was just the agreement of the council.
But, with that, as I said, with that philosophy, then none of this, all of section 3.3 would be deleted.
Yeah, so we don't have to want to
In
read.
totality. But
Well,
I think,
I like the idea you just suggested, and that is maybe replace it with some sort of a table that just lists out the various functions and then how they're provided, whether it's private contractor or county service or, that sort of thing.
yeah, I think it's applicable to the village that these things are out there. We don't provide it, but they're out there because it affects the village.
Okay. So I'll make that a table then, and eventually this will go back to council for
Yeah.
their review, and then they'll see, why did this happen, and I can take it back to the council and say, this is what planning board thought of your suggestion. They say, basically you think, okay, it does make sense that we shouldn't spend so much time talking about it,
Yeah.
but you also think it's a good idea to say that we don't provide it.
Yeah, I think that, we could condense all of it into half a page or something.
Oh, the whole thing, the whole page, just
Yeah,
make it one short table.
or something. Just so that people know these are we don't need to explain in depth that, where the water comes from and, anything else.
I see what you're saying, yeah. Just take the whole page and make it one quick, if you're moving to Marvin, here's a one sheet paper on where you get everything hooked up.
I think so.
I remember when I first read the document and I reacted because there was a whole section on how important the sewer was. And I thought, well, I didn't care about sewers when I moved here, I cared about the schools, but Mark jumped in and said, well, as a developer, developers care about sewer system and so on. So my gut reaction again is people will care about how you get your power, where you get your water from, how the garbage gets removed, and so on. So if you could put that into a table and make it pretty short and sweet, it seems like a good idea.
Sure,
I think so.
okay.
Well, just ask Russ Odell about sewer.
Well, he's an
It's
engineer,
very, very
so.
expensive to run a sewer line if you don't already have one near your property.
That's true.
Hey, can I just ask a quick thing of Bob? So you guys decide to get that out, like, this is what you want us to do, right? Is to add stuff back in for your further reconsideration, or are you just asking us to validate what you've changed and see if we can live with it?
No, I think the courtesy is being given to, as we went through chapters, what's that? I'm sorry?
No,
No, I don't think anyone said anything.
go ahead,
Go
Bob.
I thought I heard something. No, I mean, we went through 1 through 5, so now what we're doing is explaining what it is we changed. Paul, you made a really good point about the fact that, again, if somebody's coming into the community in any capacity, they ought to know, well, okay, so Marvin doesn't provide solid waste. Or solid waste removal. Okay, so how? Or who does? So, that could be something short or smaller that kind of addresses that. I think that's fair. I think we just looked at it and saw that we didn't provide it, so it was like, why should it be there? But, see, this is all good communication, Hey, let's put something in there. So, I don't think the council's very respectful of the job that everybody did with this. I mean, we were really impressed. So we were just kind of going through it with detail and just saying, okay, is there anything we need to change? Like anyway, from peculiar to particular, you know, a lot of it was more just typographicals, you know. But that's a good point that you make, Paul, is that it could be something and it just addresses it. And the same way as you said, Kelly, you know, there should be something in there that just says, you know, something of this is how it's handled. And that's it, you know, that's all. Does that answer you, Mark?
It sure does, Bob. Thank you very much for giving me that. I just want to make sure I understood what our
Yeah, I will tell you, on behalf of the council, we were impressed. I mean, we were just going through this, and it was like, we were impressed. So that's why we decided, okay, our homework assignment is to go through chapters 1 through 5, read it, look for anything, typographicals, what do you think? And everybody initially said, just so the planning board knows, we were just impressed. It was like, there's a lot of work that went into this.
Yeah, I mean, we spent 2 years on it, so I'm glad you got.
Well, that's why we get paid the big bucks.
I understand.
I think I've got one that has the date of 2016 on it.
Oh, where?
4 years, my bad.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway,
Okay, so if that's it with that, I'll make those edits, and the next change is actually, you know, aside from page 26, which we already talked about before, changing the vision plan, or vision statement to the new one. Then we go down to what page is this? 28, where there was a
I'm really, really sorry to interrupt you, but
no problem.
I thought that the vision statement that we were just looking at from the council was the council's vision statement, and I thought the vision statement in the planning, in the land use plan, was a Marvin vision statement.
I'm not sure I understand the difference. This vision statement was the council's, the council's vision statement is Marvin's vision statement, the way I see it. And this was the previous vision statement, but now they just recently adopted a new vision statement, which is here. And so I'll replace that with this, both mission and vision statements.
Okay. I thought maybe they were slightly different, but, all right.
All right. Wait, someone's talking, but I can barely hear you. Was someone saying something?
I heard something.
Yeah, it was Melinda.
oh. Do you have something, Melinda?
I think something's wrong with her headset, so it looks like she's just trying to get it fixed.
Okay. I don't mind waiting a minute.
We can get her up.
Yeah, she's over here.
You need to say something, Melinda? Give us a hand sign or something?
Would you like to type it in the chat? I could probably see it that way.
Yeah, I think she's lost communication.
Yeah.
Can she hear us?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, I was just gonna say, for purposes of clarification, for purposes of clarification, do you think then it would make more sense there to just say the Marvin mission statement as opposed to the council mission statement? Because I was with Kelly, I really thought that then that was what the council was trying to put together as opposed to them speaking for the village in total.
Sure, but I'm not. Maybe I don't know that I don't understand the difference because the council kind of creates the vision statement for does the planning board have a vision statement?
Not that I know of. I don't think.
Well, council's the elected representative,
Right.
voice of the public for the village.
Right. So.
Well, and Rohit, I'm not saying that this should be the planning board's vision statement. I thought this was the Marvin vision statement, and I was not aware that it was created by the council. It's
Got it.
It was like put together by the current council, input from, you know, the community. Like a vision statement and a mission statement, like those are really, really important and shouldn't be made in a vacuum. Like running a nonprofit, like our mission and vision statement are critical to who we are. And that's kind of like your calling card in a way, like this is what we're all about. So I don't know, I think that's clarification.
I'm with Kelly because I think that's the kind of thing that doesn't change haphazardly, right? It supersedes all of us. Like if you think about colleges, universities, businesses, organizations, nations, clubs, you know, the mission statement of the Rotary doesn't change the tides, right? The mission statement of, I don't think that Marvin necessarily does either. That's not to say that things don't get updated or reconsidered, but I think that I think all of us are looking for longevity beyond ourselves in whatever it is that Marvin's going to be, right? So as opposed to, I'm with you, Kelly. I was surprised to learn that as well.
Sure.
Right, can I?
Yeah, sure.
Hey guys, this is Christina. Wanted to mention that when Ray had presented this at the council meeting the other day, the council actually, if from my understanding, my memory serves me correct, they actually asked him to change what was there to what was recently adopted. So what we can do is go back to council at their work session and just let them know that we had this discussion and the planning board saw that, you know, the existing, the older, I guess, mission statement that was in the previous document was relevant more so than this one, and just let council decide what they want to do.
Is that what is being asked right now?
I wouldn't say relevant is the right term, but I would like to know where that original statement came from and if that truly was like community input.
Yeah.
Like if it's just something whoever was writing this made up, like, you know, then I think it's fair game, but like what Melinda said, you don't change a mission statement with each new administration. It is what it is, unless the community comes together and decides that it's about something different.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure where it was derived from. That was obviously before Rohit and mine's time. I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of our former councilmen was a consultant at the time who actually put some of this stuff together. I can shoot her an email and ask her if she recalls where it was, you know, derived from, and hopefully she'll answer and we can get an answer back on that for you guys.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
And just so you know, just so everybody knows, and I know Christina was there with us, when we had our retreat, and it was conducted by this outside committee. You probably know.
Yeah,
I get hung up on the acronyms.
It was called Central Line.
Yeah, but it was, what we had done was we were looking at refreshing exactly where is the vision of Marvin going now in the future, and we were going based off of the survey, the results of the survey. So just so everybody knows, that's where sort of the vision statement, you know, we looked at this large vision statement and said, okay, we had group sessions and we were trying to figure out, okay, what is it that we want to highlight? What is the future? Is there a simpler, smaller form that kind of identifies who we are? That's where it came from. So it was from our retreat. And again, it came from the survey. So it was sort of like, okay, now what are we looking at in the future for Marvin? What is it? Marvin certainly changed over the years. What is it now? That's all. I mean, that's where that came from. The new vision statement.
Well, and I think they're great. And I don't think I think they can be separate. Like Marvin can, as a village, could have its own mission statement. Like the council mission statement, the council vision statement. Like the council can have its own mission and vision. And I think every council should, so they have a specific culture. So I think that they're great, Bob. You know, I don't know, I think we just need to know, like, which one goes in, and what's the history of it,
And you bring up a good point. You bring up a good point because you're saying, okay, this is about the land use plan. This is what we're doing with the topography of Marvin. This is what we, quote unquote, as a planning board or as an entity of Marvin, this is what we see, and of course it's adopted by everybody, by the council and all. But this is more specific to maybe land and vision for land, because it's land use. So I see your point. We never really went that deep into it. We just said, oh, we came up with
I don't think.
So that's how we came up with that change out. But that's good to bring, to come back to the council about.
Okay.
Yeah. I think what we had was, to me, is more relevant to land use, the big picture than what the council has adopted there.
Well, let me just say though, if council has decided that the mission statement for the village of Marvin is going to be a short sentence and so on, I gotta think they thought it through.
Yeah.
And they knew what the old one was. I wouldn't want to have multiple vision statements floating around, right? If the council has decided that this is the new vision statement for Marvin, well, then that's what ought to be in the land use plan, in my opinion.
I concur with that.
And of course, in the end, we do what the council says. Ultimately, we can recommend something, but if they want to change it, then it gets changed.
Well, we can discuss it. We can discuss it. That's not a problem. And a good point, Paul, that you make is we don't want to have multiple vision statements out there. But to your point also, John, that, this is more specifically the vision statement of the land use plan. So we can go back and just discuss it. That's the whole point of this. We just want to get it right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So we'll leave that open for future discussion. I guess that's what it seems like. Okay. Back to screen sharing. Give me a second to flip over. Share screen. Okay, I'm sharing this one. And now I go back to this one. Oh, so, page 28, there was a comment that in A2, they wanted to extend that bullet point by adding, so it says initiate amendments to land use code, land use plan based on statistically significant resident surveys, and then add to it public input meetings, public comments, and other means of feedback, because they didn't want to limit us to only influencing the land use plan from just the survey. Is that flow with everyone?
Yeah. Good.
All right.
If we can get some public comment.
Yeah. Okay, then moving on to page 32. Let's see. 32. So it was Councilwoman Vandenberg that was concerned about bed and breakfast inns in the village center. But I think the end of that conversation was that whatever uses that will be eventually in the village center will be guided, not dictated by this plan. So she was fine leaving that in and then seeing what happens when we actually get down to it, just to not limit possibilities by removing that. So that's actually just a highlighted word that didn't change, but I just wanted to point that out. She had the same comment about residential uses over first floor businesses, and I think she was not the only one that was not happy about that being suggested, but I don't think now is the time to have that conversation, because they said that we could keep it in the land use plan.
I thought we had nixed that as well.
Okay, well, do you
So
want
it
to,
was not something that was a popular thing on the survey.
so you just want to remove this then, as well as second floor residential uses over first floor businesses?
I mean, does anyone else want to chime in? Like, I remember the survey was not received well, and people were like adamantly against it. I don't know why it's still in here. Anyone else remember, Paul? Anyone?
Well, I know it's because I reread the, comments on the survey, and it was not strongly approved there. I don't know whether to bring it up in our public involvement meeting or just take it out. What's anybody else's feeling? they're only.
Was it suggested at your workshop a couple of weeks ago? Like, that's the first time I've heard it in a while.
It's been in the land use plan since I started looking at it a year ago.
I think it was in there originally.
Yeah. This was well before the workshop. It's just, it was brought up because Kim said, I guess I meant to highlight this and I forgot, but she said that she wasn't happy about that being a possibility by being in the land use plan. But then, as I said, they were like, okay, well, if they kept it, then we could decide when we get to that point if we're actually going to allow it.
Can we confirm what the survey says about this? Because I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Give me 1 second and I'll pull out the survey.
Did we ask specifically about second floor residential?
Yes, there was a question.
There were very specific
Yeah,
questions
and you
about
recall
that.
we changed the wording. It said condos over commercial, and then we said, can we change that to residential above retail, so it doesn't sound like we're building condos in Marvin.
How did it come back?
How did it come? It's been in the land use plan.
No. Sorry. What was the reaction of the community to the question?
Right. I'm going through the server, pulling out the survey. Give me 1 second.
I think it was negative.
All right, here's on page 21 of the land use plan.
And we specifically put that language in there because we wanted the public to react to it. We wanted to hear what their opinion is of it.
Okay.
Page 21, in the land use, it says, future residential development should limit the quantity of housing and densities in accord with the resident rate of support for the following, considering what has been developed to date, and residential above retail, parentheses, 3 stories or less, 9% rate of support.
We got the biggest rejection of anything else on that scale.
Well, townhomes and apartments got less, but that was only 2 less.
Huh. Why do I have 9% there? Because it says 10% on the survey.
I don't know.
Let me see if that
could
was
be a rounding issue, maybe?
No. Let me see if that was asked differently in a different part.
You know, the critical number though was 29%.
Well, yeah.
It had the biggest. Go ahead.
Against and 22 kind of didn't care.
I think, okay, so what John brought up on page 21 was in general in Marvin, like even if we were doing commercial on the other side of town, would you support residential above retail?
Okay.
And that was 9%.
Okay.
But then I'm screen sharing the survey right now, so if you're not seeing this, let me know. But over back here in the survey, in the section on Village Center District, we have residential above retail with 10% strongly agree and 16% agree. So that's roughly a 26% support of residential above retail. But that's kind of lumped into the question about other uses which have restaurants and cafes in it. So I don't know if that's,
So let's
comparing
pull
apples
the
to apples.
second half of that sentence out and just not suggested. And then going back to the second comment about beds and breakfasts and so on, I don't see why. We could probably just cut that sentence off at small scale uses, period, and not have the such as, because we're only saying such as cafes and one other thing, And that one other thing was even maybe not such a great thing to include. So
Mhm.
just if we cut that sentence off at small scale uses, that's probably good.
Is that favorable? So we're talking remove as well as second floor residential uses in one, and then remove such as cafes, bed and breakfasts, inns, etc. in number 4? Okay.
Well, any comments from anybody else?
All right. Seeing none, I'm just gonna mark that down.
Okay.
Sure. I mean, that leaves it general in the same way. When we get to the district itself, we can figure out what
Yeah, well,
Marvin
we'll
wants
have
and
to,
doesn't.
get detailed then.
Right. Right. Back to the land use plan. Okay, so the next comment I have is on page 34. Do you guys want to, do you just want to completely defer this section to PRG as you did when we got to this section last time?
I think I would, but
I mean, the only thing that they really added was consider partnering with neighboring towns to develop a shared park space. That's the only difference, basically.
yeah. I mean,
I'm perfectly okay with that.
I mean, that's their bailiwick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the only change that they had.
Then I doubt we should probably revise it.
Yeah.
Okay, sure enough. Next, we're on page 37. Page 37, H11, they wanted to change the word local to municipal owned, just to clarify that we have the authority over our own roads, because local could mean anything.
Okay.
In number 4, it was a little bit assuring for them to add with assistance for engineers, because they wanted to just clarify that, there's nothing political about what order they want, to prioritize needed repairs. It's basically coming from the engineer, and the council gives it the okay. So, and that was something that just came up kind of independently of this, and then when they saw this here, they said they just wanted to add this to
And I use the phrase, and based on input from, as opposed to with assistance.
You want to just change the wording there? So based on input from?
Saying if that's what they're trying to get at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prioritize needs repairs as part of the village's annual capital improvement plan based on input from engineers.
I would say that's an improvement to the
Yeah.
wording, yeah. So based on input from engineers. Okay. Moving on. So page 38, the LARTP was noted to be outdated, and CRTPO has now actually adopted a new comprehensive transportation plan, which is called the Comprehensive Transportation Plan, CTP. So I basically changed all references to the from LARTPO, LRTPO, whatever. The old one is, I changed it to the new one. And they said, what is TCC in number H93? So I just added the acronym spelled out.
Okay.
And I think that's it. That's it. For that, at least.
Don't slide there. I see LARTP mentioned in number 4. You need to change that.
Number 4, where?
8.
Oh, okay, yes, thank you. Good point. Okay, I've got that noted. I'm taking notes on paper here.
That's very old school of you, Rohit.
Yeah, I guess. But it's funny because I have a file cabinet of every month's revision.
Ugh.
That's
That's government.
a new cabinet.
That you mean 4 file cabinets, it couldn't be just one.
Well, it's getting thick.
Okay.
Or like a file cabinet for each year that this has been going on for the last, like, what, 4 years?
Oh man, that's when I'd need multiple file cabinets.
Mhm.
Okay, well, I've reached the end there. Chapter 6 would start encroaching into the next items on the agenda. So, I think I would just like to open it back up to, general comments.
Let's keep it moving, the plan.
Yeah, sure. So what that means is, we'll talk about chapter 6 and 7 and 8. If there is an 8, it might just be references and stuff, at the next meeting. But we're going to talk about what chapter 6 is going to look like in a later item on the agenda.
Okay.
We're going to talk about that in number 7.
All right, so our next item is future land use plan map.
Great. Okay, give me a second to switch gears here. So I went and made the PDF of the map based on all of your what you guys voted on at the previous meeting, and so that's there independently. I'm going to pull that up in just a second. But on top of that, if you saw it in your packet, there's a little inset too. That was one of the conversations that we had. What comes first? In the village center, the boundary or the subzones? Because then if we have this big shaded area that looks like it's going to be commercial, then people will freak out because it looks like we're putting Birkdale in Marvin. But then we don't want people to think that. So maybe in the land use map itself, we show something like the subzone map that we were talking about, where only the front is commercial and the back is residential, and into what scale. So just 1 second, I can't multitask. I'm going in the wrong folders and stuff. Okay.
You're too young to have that problem.
Am I though? Let's see. Okay, agendas, packet docs, planning board, 2020. This, that. There we go. Okay. Okay. So that's the map, and in a second, I have basically this map is everything you guys voted on. So there's a very clearly tentative stripe, it's striped, that indicates tentativeness. It's labeled tentative on the legend, and everything that's not in the ground is got some sort of proposed language. And there is a difference between proposed and possible. Proposed is what we're presenting, and possible is what external parties are presenting. I guess that means I should change that possible annexation to proposed. All right, I already got revisions. But if you look at this map on its own, just without the inset, it is as I believe everything that was voted on. We have the annexation area to re-include the north area and exclude the south area because Waxhaw's already crept up to our southern border. The ETJ is kind of sprinkly color because it's also not. We have to apply for ETJ. By the way, that was delayed till December. We were supposed to have that hearing last week, but they decided to postpone that because the county is working on their comp plan. They wanted to wait. The commissioners wanted to wait for the county planner to finish their comp plan before hearing our ETJ. So that's going to be a bit. So anyway, I guess I wanted to take any questions or comments about the general future land use map first before we go into the either having the inset map at all or what it would have in it, if you wanted to do that.
I've got a question.
Uh-huh.
Behind Marvin Gardens,
Uh-huh, yeah.
that's in Marvin, isn't it?
Well,
That's not ETJ.
no, Weddington Forest, which is a one-street neighborhood
Yeah,
there.
that's that little one, but what about, that's, what's the big subdivision?
That's Weddington Chase.
Weddington
Yeah,
Chase.
that's in Marvin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but is,
Oh, that zoning color is, okay, I could make that darker, but that is, it's just, there's 3 different zonings, and, that's a different
okay,
zoning.
all right, I'm with you now.
Yeah, yeah, so I definitely hear your comment, which is to make
I mean,
that
I
a
was
darker
looking at all
color.
this yellow and then that's different.
Yeah, it's different because, areas that we annexed that were denser than our Marvin residential zoning, we had to create a new
Residential
zoning.
Union County or whatever.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was.
that's what the RUC stands for. We
Okay.
actually had to create a new zoning district to have those denser units be compliant to something.
Okay, all right,
But-
that's,
Yeah, but I still, yeah,
I had the exact same question, but can you just make it a different color
Yep.
of, like the same, like shade, but, or same color, but just a different shade?
okay, so make,
Of blue, or is it, wait, what, sorry, can you, pull back
yeah,
on the map?
so the yellow,
Different shade of that yellow, that green, or green, yellow, I don't know, what color is that, like?
it's
lime?
kind of a, yeah, it's kind of like a yellowy green. But you're
Yeah,
basically
it's-
saying you want me to make the RUC zone the same, similar color but a different shade so that they can be told apart, but they're also both clearly in Marvin, they're both residential.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. With that, minor clarification, I think that's everything that we talked about, is with the, until we get down to the meat of the village center.
Right, and so this is kind of something that came out of our conversation, off the pre-agenda meeting. We were thinking, again, like I said, if the village center is this big blobby area, then it will probably scare a lot of people, and we want to be able to have this map explain both things. Both, these are the properties that we're thinking of for the village center, and also that not all whatever 100 acres of it is not going to be all commercial. So again, I have to stop talking so that I can pull out this map. Can't multitask. Where is it? Here.
And, and while you're finding, for everybody else's, okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
We did talk about something like that last time, I think, didn't we?
Yeah. So this, and this doesn't have a legend because this is just a screenshot, but obviously the one that goes in the land use map would have the legend, kind of in the middle right area probably. But if you were to look at this map and maybe a more cleaned up version of this map and say, okay, so the purple areas are commercial, the green areas are rural residential, and the orange area maybe patio homes, the yellow areas are suburban, then that would be, you could just take a first glance at this and say, okay, if the purple is commercial, then there's actually very little commercial going in this district, and then the average Marvin resident would be a lot more at ease, which was the point of what the inset map might accomplish.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to everyone?
I almost feel like because it's so much more detailed, that if you try to put this up in that little bitty corner at the top where the other current inset is, you may actually cause more trouble than it helps.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can see that.
I think we may need, maybe an inset and then a full-size map.
In a different document, but
Or,
yeah. I think I see.
Different page.
I think I see a compromise here. So so this is our kind of like internal, if we really want to get down into it, this is what we look at. But for a map like this, we might be able to just break it down into commercial and residential. Just like have the purple and blue areas be one color, and then have the green, yellow, and orange areas be one other color.
Yeah, I'll also say that, even with the different colors, like, this map does not look like the map we were talking about the last time. It looks like some things have changed on it since our last meeting. And at least with the rural on the outside, that just looks like a buffer. It doesn't even look like it's large enough to, it just looks like a tree buffer.
Maybe because the width in comparison to the length, but if you look at, say, this is one of the Meadowlark houses, that's almost as wide as one of the Meadowlark houses. I could make it a little wider, but essentially you could fit, one lot on what's approximately 4 acres there.
Right. But what I'm telling you is that it looks like a tree buffer.
Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying.
I also think that the more detailed, if this is just for like general ideas, right? Some of the things that we cut out of the other thing was because we were getting too into the weeds.
Mm-hmm.
I think if the goal is to give the public a general idea of what we're talking about, as opposed to creating kind of chaos, I think the more detailed you get, like this setup looks like, and this is where we're going to put this, and this is exactly where we're going to put this, and we haven't determined that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right.
You may get more feedback than what you're actually looking for at this stage of the game if you send them something, if you give something to the general public that looks like, and I'm new, but I think that's where the last council or the last board member who's no longer with us got in trouble, right? So I'm just saying, like, until we have something more definitive, you may want to be careful about putting in something this detailed out there.
Yeah.
Right, and that's why I didn't put that in the packet, because I know we're not ready for that. And I wanted to get your opinion on it
But
first.
we need something to, other than, the concept has expanded from this little strip along Newtown Road to a much larger area.
Mhm. And so to say that,
if we don't clarify that some, then it's going to cause just as much, consternation, on the residents.
Right. So to say that those extra properties are included should also go in the same breath with, but we're making them completely residential.
It should really just be a map of 2 colors, commercial and residential.
Yeah, I can see that happening. If I can, maybe I can do that right now. Okay.
And Melinda's exactly right. We don't want to put anything out there that might be construed as a final.
Yeah.
Can I do 3 colors, commercial, residential, and institutional, to give the churches and the village hall like a separate, like a 3rd color?
Yeah.
Is that fair?
So that the churches aren't to be construed as going commercial.
Or residential. Right.
Or residential,
Right.
yeah.
Or just black them out, like solid them out since they're existing.
I don't see no development happening there. That's the thing. Like, they would be amenable to sidewalks along the front, and there is talks about putting the village hall on the church property. So while that's there, I think I would still support the properties being drawn within the district, but demarcating them with a 3rd color that shows that they're
They're not just a vacant spot. They may, this property where we sit or over between us and the Methodist church may become a park or something. Church park. So it then becomes sort of integral with Village Center.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's got to play.
Have 2 colors still and just have commercial and quote non-commercial, or is non-commercial too scary a word for people?
Well, I guess that's why I'm tossing out a 3rd color, because I don't want to impose to anyone looking at this map that the churches are going to be doing anything other than remaining as churches, but maybe with a little bit of, infrastructure improvement. I could,
But in the inset map, just leave them white like everything else.
That's,
Yeah.
Do what?
she said to leave the church properties white like everything else that's, that's around it. I think I could potentially present a few versions of this inset map at the next meeting, and then we could talk about which one we like the best.
Yeah,
How's
let's
that?
do that so that we can see how bad, how good or bad it looks.
Sure. Okay.
And how well it gets the concept across.
Okay, sure. But the general consensus then is that you do want an inset map at all to correspond with the village center, this shaded area.
I think we're gonna have to have something of a larger scale there. Is there a disagreement with that?
The only thing I would pose is that would this just need it, would the subzone actually just need to be its own map and a completely separate page?
But then what do we do when we're making posters,
You said poster?
Yeah, posters. Like,
Or-
if it's a second page, then we have two posters.
Or
Like
as I
that one back there.
mentioned earlier, back here, or public involvement meetings and stuff.
Got it.
Okay.
Are we,
I feel like we're...
yeah, it's awful quiet.
Yeah, I feel like we came to a
I'm
consensus really
afraid
quickly.
that, I'm not sure whether it's good or bad. Or is everybody muted?
Probably muted.
Oh, Kelly's muted. All right. Well, I guess this just kind of leaves it to say that with the minor revisions, the meat of the map, and then the requests for the what the inset map would look like. I think we could move on.
All right. All right, as I mentioned, and it's on the agenda now as item 5, or it would be technically, I guess, 6 now, but discussion of public input meetings for the land use plan. I sometimes move real slow, my gray hair slows me down, but we were sitting in our pre-planning meeting last week, me and Rohit and Barbie and Austin, and all of a sudden the light bulb came on to me. I said, before this goes as a completed package, completed to the council, we the planning board need to have some public involvement meetings with the community to introduce it to them. And then the council ultimately will have their own, involvement meetings as well. But I think we need to, so that it's not once again, a deep, dark secret. We need to put it before the community. And like I said, before it goes to the council, who will be ultimately voting on it. And the council, I brought it up to the council, and they thought that was a good idea. And I threw it out to them that, they got a lot of grief after not being at the public involvement meetings for the Bonds Grove property. And asked them, I threw out several dates to them. I said, what do you think would work for you? Because I think we need, a evening meeting and a daytime meeting, like we did at Bonds Grove as well. And they came back with their suggestion. What was it, Rohit?
It was August 13th at 7 p.m. and August 20th at 10:30 a.m.
August 30th.
August 13th, 7 p.m. and August 20th, 10:30 a.m. seem to be the most reasonably attendable times. And of course, not everyone has to attend both meetings.
Yeah.
It's not like that. It's, it will be staffed, and if a few people can come to each, I think people will be able to get their questions answered.
And we need to have, you know, the blown up maps and some blown up copies of some of those renderings that you'd had done and the council's has approved, or as far as having created and stuff. And I guess some copies of the text for reference by the, and it needs to be out there to the public beforehand, but some there that they can reference as well.
Yeah, all of that can be arranged, and
They're in state right now.
is there some choppiness here? I'm seeing loading bubbles.
Did you hear my question about whether this is going to be on a WebEx or if this is going to be done at the town village hall?
Oh, both. We'll have virtual and in-person available.
Will this be a quorum?
It could be a notice of potential quorum for both boards, but it's not a special called meeting. It's just a public involvement meeting.
Okay.
And just what's your max occupancy for the village hall?
10.
And that includes employees?
Yeah.
So I mean, you can't really have that many people there.
Yeah, it was discussed that it could partially be outside. We have that lawn area, and we did have overflow that one time.
That's weather dependent though.
It is weather dependent. Yeah, you're right.
What about doing something like before? Because this is also like right around the start of school, and if I could say bad words, like this is going to be a hot mess. Like the start of school is going to be a hot mess. It's very confusing for parents. Union County doesn't necessarily know what's going on. So the timing is like not the greatest for parents. Is there a way that we could maybe even do something a little bit before then, with maybe the HOA presidents and maybe a representative or two from the neighborhoods that don't have an HOA? To help get the word out and get questions or feedback or whatever we're looking for. I just worry that like one WebEx and a potential like drop-in that really can't accommodate a lot of people is not going to be enough. So could we get that, is that HOA president group still active? You know what I'm talking about?
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well,
They haven't met sometimes. I mean, they had a change in HOA presidents and that kind of blew everything up.
Maybe we could do one prior to the 13th and invite the new HOA presidents so that they could potentially disseminate information and then get feedback or questions from residents.
Okay, so
we're only talking 3 weeks prior to the 13th now.
I mean, what do we need to, what all needs to be prepared? Is it all on Rohit? Are there things that we can help with?
I mean, getting the word out is the biggest thing that's not completely my responsibility. I think Austin will help a little bit with that too. But if you're talking about wanting to just have a meeting with HOA presidents, we do have a list that we could just send to them and not have it be a real quote unquote public involvement meeting, but just like a pre-meeting with the HOA president, so that just be, and this is just because we can't have a meeting in person with too many people.
Well, how many HOA do we have?
About 30.
I have a list. 30.
30?
There's about 25, 30 HOAs.
West End responsive they are, but
yeah, some of them are more responsive than others.
Some of them don't respond. But.
Right. I mean, so out of 30, we don't expect all 30 people to come, and even if they do, we'll do it on WebEx.
But we just need to going back to that term, the transparent, let the community know what's going on before it gets down to final votes.
Could we do short, 30 minutes to an hour and do multiple ones, and like each planning board member could be on one of the calls, just so we have more opportunity to talk to people?
Yeah, like to have several rooms, kind of.
What room?
Could we do rooms, or just
Like WebEx
different
rooms.
times of day?
Or different times of the day, you're saying.
Or just like over multiple days, so like, you have maybe 2, daytime ones, and then maybe 3 evening ones.
And so would you say that people have to sign up for these blocks?
Yeah, you probably wanna, I guess yeah, I would probably say they probably need to register, just so you know how many, and like registration is capped at a certain amount. I don't know what WebEx, I know restrictions on Zoom, but.
We have, I think, 100 people. But if there's more than, realistically, if there's more than like 5 people on a call, like it gets too, you can't have all those people talking at the same time,
Right, but the chat function could be very helpful, if you've ever done a webinar. No, everyone is muted, you're not allowed to even talk, but if you have questions for the person who's holding the meeting, you just send them off in the chat, and then they'll get to them, or they'll follow up with you afterwards if they didn't get to it in the live webinar.
That's a great idea. We'll need help moderating that, which I'll probably grab you.
And it'd be tough, we got half a dozen meetings, it's gonna be tough to get the same information.
That was my concern.
Out as well. Someone will say, well, in this meeting they said this, and in that meeting they said something else.
Right, especially if it's different planning board members at each meeting.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I think utilizing the chat function and having one meeting where, people can come and go, but it's like one block of a meeting might be leaning towards the better answer.
Well, wouldn't you just have like a common presentation in each one that you would give, or like a general presentation, and then take questions in the chat function?
A presentation.
I don't really see planning board members answering tough questions that we haven't even dealt with yet. I would say that's a you thing, Rohit. We would be there for support and talk about how the planning board functions, I guess, but.
Okay, so that might lend itself really well to a WebEx, like a webinar, I could see us just doing WebEx in that case, and then having the screen share function, for showing people what they want to see.
Yeah, of course, then you technically, block some people, some residents.
Mm-hmm.
From them.
Right, and that is why we have these meetings are open to the public. Like someone could walk in right now and just sit into the meeting, technically.
And that's my question is, and I appreciate, John, I love the idea of having public input, because I think that's very important. I think the increased transparency is very important for all of the boards, for the council, for the government of Marvin. We have like the areas, graded out on a map that says we're gonna do something here, maybe, or there's the potential to do something here. What else is the goal of this public meeting to say? And I'm sorry if I missed it, but what is the thesis of what we're, aside from our general meetings, what are we saying there that we aren't saying here, or is the idea to hold a public meeting just to say, hey, side note, we're saying this, please be aware, we don't want you to be caught off guard.
Well, like I said, this meeting, is totally open, obviously, and with only a handful of exceptions, there are not many people who
couldn't have it.
who come to our meetings or even sign on now, and, you know, with WebEx. But I can just see that if this thing comes to final approval, things blowing up because, hey, we didn't know about this. And, yeah, I know we can't, all we can do is lead the horse to the water. We can't make him drink it, but we need to lead it to him and give him a great big bucket. And if he doesn't want it, then it's his fault.
Are we looking for feedback? Are we looking for, like, do we want to know what their questions are so we know what we need to be addressing?
I think, yeah, I think so.
And let me put it in a different perspective. So as a government, it's kind of our obligation to have an open forum for such an important document. Let's say there's like 5 people in the chat in this audience right now who aren't allowed to talk. That's not fair to them. And so a version of this kind of meeting where they can openly ask questions and we will answer them as soon as they get asked is just fair to the residents of Marvin before we adopt something so, influential.
I'm wondering personally though, aren't we a little bit past the input stage? Meaning, if a vocal minority shows up in one of these meetings and wants something changed in the land use plan, are we gonna do that now, or are we gonna listen to it?
That's up to you to decide. I mean, I don't think it's as long as it's not adopted yet, council hasn't adopted it yet, it's not too late. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's the point. I think that we owe the community the opportunity to, whether we like what they say or not, we owe them the opportunity to state something, before it goes to the council for adoption.
The final, yeah. And maybe the public goes through 40 pages of stuff and only finds like 10 little things here and there, but having afforded the public that opportunity is something, to say that, at least we did that.
Listen, I do want to point out, and this predates some of the current members, but that was the whole point of doing the survey.
Yes.
Was to get the public feedback, gather it up, and then use that to create the document because they elected the council, they appointed us. I feel like we just are kicking stuff back to them over and over when we spent 7 months putting that survey together for this same specific purpose. So I just want everyone to consider whether it really is an effective use of continuing this process.
Well, in that respect,
I bring it
I
up
think,
for discussion because
I
feel like
in that respect, I think that we need to stress to whoever shows up or whatever, that we took the survey and this is our best understanding of what the residents asked for in the survey.
So is the possibility to send out the document or make the document available for residents to review? And then if they have comments, they can just send in the comments. But if they have questions, they can either, join a webinar or WebEx, put them in the chat, or if they're there by phone, they can request to speak and ask the questions. But
if they show up at meetings to do that, I mean, all these meetings, they can always come to any one of these. I mean, what are we going to do with all those comments? I mean,
It's been on our agenda for 7-8 months.
I mean, we're going to get people mailing in comments, and then what are we going to do with it? Then each one?
I mean, we send out our agenda every single month. And on the agenda, we're talking about the land use plan. And we've had nobody come up and now we're gonna do this again. I mean, they have the opportunity to come to every single meeting. Every single meeting is open.
That's a good point.
Be more transparent.
I think what we'd be doing is presenting, this is the 99% or whatever, or maybe by then 100% of what we're going to present to the council for their approval. And this gives you an opportunity to see it before it goes to the council.
With then response that, and then you guys can show up to the council and voice your opinions if you want, but to me, we're giving the community a heads up as to what our work was. I wouldn't want to try and change it now, to be honest. I'm more than happy if they show up at the council meeting.
Yes, that's the right thing.
Suggestions that these 5 things they'd like to see changed. But at this point, I think our work is largely finished.
Pass the torch.
I concur. I mean, it's not like we're deciding this. We're making our recommendations. We have considered all kinds of past thoughts that were written by others. We've had surveys, we've had big meetings with the whole, I mean, we didn't write a whole chapter. We set it aside so we could hold meetings together as citizens and have big meetings around tables, and we did it all, I think. I just don't know what else we're going to extract from the community.
Well, so the question was asked just a few minutes ago, kind of what's the purpose of these meetings? And I'm trying to suggest the purpose of the meetings could be give the townsfolk a heads up as to what we're going to present to the council. Not that they then get input for our product that goes to council, rather they get input at council level.
Okay, I see your point, but do you not feel that Mike's point addresses that this is on, they get the agenda, that's an open to public meeting, these are even, you don't even have to come now, you can just log in and be on this computer. I mean, it's not like there's been no opportunity or no communication, and I just feel like we're inviting more delays to rather than you get something done.
That's a fair point.
And looking on the,
I mean, you think some profound ideas are gonna come out of this that we haven't considered? I just,
All I'm saying is at least this gives the community who's interested a heads up before it goes to council. In fairness, that they probably don't have an opportunity to read the whole document.
okay.
won't that be on the council's agenda? Won't that be on the council's agenda that we're voting on the land use plan tonight or in 1 week? I mean, the council's agenda goes out to the public as well.
But, you know,
Also, I think that if you end up though, to Paul's point, if you do send it out and just say, hey, as an additional side note, here's your chance to come and ask questions, upload it so we can get like good answers. Here's the questions, here's what you're gonna do, because sometimes if it shows that if you come in to make comment the night the council's gonna vote on it, I don't know what difference that would make. So it may be nice, Paul, to your point, to give the public opportunity, and if nobody shows up, we're out, a little bit of time, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, there's not that many. I mean, there's a decent amount of people that actually read Marvin's emails and like look at the agendas that go out, but there are a lot of people that don't. Either they don't have time, they're not signed up. So I could see where sending it out just as a heads up. Hey, this is what we're looking at. This is what we've been doing. If you want to comment or whatever, watch for the discussion during the council meeting. But I mean, a lot of people don't, they just don't follow our agendas.
Put in the title,
So they wouldn't follow-
Village Center Plans, they might open it.
That's really funny.
do what?
She said if you put in the title of the email, Village Center Plans, they might open it.
Yeah.
All right, well, what was that, is that something we need to vote on, or?
I mean, what did we conclude? That we're
Yeah, I
not doing
guess
a
what's
public
our
meeting?
conclusion.
That's what kind of sounds like we're leaning towards letting the council decide if they want to do a public meeting before they adopt it. That's
But
what
it's
I'm hearing.
ultimately the council's decision. It's ultimately the council's
Plan, the council plan, they're gonna change what they want to change.
So Robert, the reaction on my end, and it's somewhat along with Michael, is that, we've been working on this for 3 or 4 years. If people had an interest, they could have come to any one of these meetings, they would have seen what we've been discussing. The transparency is here. I grant you, having a single meeting saying, here's our plan, might be more transparent, but we've been pretty transparent all along. And the next step is for council to adopt the plan. If the community wants input on that, well, that's at the council meeting.
Sure. Makes sense.
And like I said, I was just trying to I won't call it grease the wheel, but move the thing along a little faster before the council when it gets to them, was my thought. Was getting the public involved before it got to that final vote and it blows up at the council meeting or something.
And on the face of it, John, I'm not, that makes sense, but I'm also reacting to the idea is that if 8 people show up at this meeting and express their opinion about a section that we wrote, I doubt that I would recommend we change it. Because my assumption is those 8 people answered the survey, and they're part of the 29% that said no to something. Or, you know, they're part of the 70% that said yes to something. So, you know, my feeling is they had their input.
Those are all good points.
Bob?
Yeah. I mean, Bob, ask Bob if he wants to, the council wants to send out, hey, the land use plan is available through council or online. Take a look at it. We're going to vote on it on June or August 7th or whatever it is.
I mean, yeah, Bob.
That's a good idea, Mike.
You're still on there, I get.
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, if you're asking for my opinion, Paul, you know, and this is my opinion, you're all saying the correct things. Mark, you're driving the conversation with a good point. There's a lot of sausage making that's gone into this land use plan. You folks have done a very good job, and as I reiterated before, and everybody's had a chance to see it. You know, quite honestly, just the other day, which Rohit can attest to, you know, I had a citizen call me about the fact that they had seen from a neighbor that whole Bonds Grove Church piece of property on Providence Road, and of course the person was from the Courtyards of Marvin. So it is transparent. People are seeing the land use plan. And, you know, we got an email and we had to address it. We had to address and explain what did it mean, the fact that it was in red. And that, and you know, that just shows you people are seeing it all. I mean, they are seeing it. So, you know, you folks have done a grand job. The council looks at it. We've made adjustments, you know, and as I said before, we handed it to you to show, well, Rohit did, to show, hey, for the courtesy, this is what the council saw. And we discussed it a little bit, whether it be about the mission statement, whether it be waste disposal. They are seeing it. And I think you know, I guess I believe in government. They're entrusting us to make the right decisions all the way around. And, you know, there's been a lot of people involved, meaning you folks, you know, and of course then us. So I don't know, I agree with you, Paul, to have a room full of the citizen after 2-3 years of your input and hard work to all of a sudden say, take this sentence out, we don't agree with this. Wait a minute, what do you mean by that, okay? You never get anything accomplished. I mean, the whole point of government is to entrust us to put together a good plan. To make it transparent to the citizens is absolute. And to say this is what your government has put up with, you know, has put up, not put up with, put together, to, you know, form a good, you know, village, to form a good use of the land, and this is what our plans are. I think this is partly what, Kelly, that I think we wanted to address with the town hall meeting. We wanted to actually, there's going to be a lot more, but it's actually coming to the public. I mean, there's been a lot of people asking, what is this village district? And we've had the coffee with council, and we've had a lot of people going in asking all sorts of questions about, what do you mean this is going to be built here? I understood this, you know, that kind of thing. So we felt like, the council felt like, let's have a transparent town hall meeting that they actually can, the public input would be right there. You have a question about the land use plan, you have a question about the village district, here you go, ask away. I think that's what the town hall meeting, that's what I know the town hall meeting is going to be. It's going to be, it's going to be a combination of things to even include Gene Stowe talking about inherit the land and about what's going on. I mean, there's going to be some very entertaining information provided too. So I hope that answers the question there to address that.
Is the town hall meetings going to happen before the vote on the land use plan?
No, that's what John was saying, that I think there would be a vote on the land use plan. I think that the council's decision was to make a, vote on the land use plan and then explain to the public.
So will we be done with chapter 6 by then? Like this?
Yeah, that's what I'm not so sure about, because this chapter 6, we still have to bring it up in the next maybe 2 items from now. We still have to bring up what's going on with the comp plan and chapter 6. So there's a possibility we won't be done with that until maybe August or September, and in which case the council won't be able to even vote on the land use plan until September, October. So if you're looking to have the town hall in early fall, it's most likely that town hall will occur before the vote to adopt the land use plan.
Yeah, because I think, if you're looking for input, especially on the district, what kind of input are you looking for? Are we looking for design input? Are you looking for, feel what kind of amenities people are looking for, which, we did get some feedback from the survey, obviously, but,
And we're probably gonna have to have another town hall about the village center maybe 6 months from now, like when we're further along with that.
With design standards
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm wondering though then is, couldn't the town hall, at least the first one, serve as some sort of a public involvement meeting in the document before it gets voted on?
Yeah, I think that's what Bob was saying originally, which is that, if the town hall does in fact take place before the land use plan is voted on, then some public input could be taken into account when people ask about the land use plan.
Well, that may, and this town hall meeting came up after my conversations with the council last week. So, like I said, it may be covering the same basis.
Yeah, especially if you're now talking about how, maybe it's the council's position to host the public meeting itself. They could knock that all out in this town hall. It seems like a really efficient way of handling it, if you ask me.
They can figure out how to do a town hall in today's environment.
Right. I think Christina's working on that.
All right, so I guess the long and the short then, it sounds like we're not gonna have an official, or the decision is not to have official public involvement meetings.
Yeah, or to not schedule one at this time.
Yeah,
Do you want to vote on that?
Do we need a vote? I guess, since
I don't know if you need a vote to not have a public
I would
meeting.
think we don't need a vote if we wanted to have one.
yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Okay then.
All right. Discussion of Village Center District timeline and the next steps.
All right. So this is something specifically that Kelly asked me to put on the agenda at the last meeting. So I whipped up something concise for you guys, just to look at, if we keep talking about the village center, if we want to make it happen, what are the next 4 steps? And I put it out to you in a nice little table. I'll try to be real concise about it, not go into too much detail, but of course I'm here to go into detail if you have any questions about anything. So the first step is obviously to have the land use plan and future land use map adopted. And it did include public input meetings here. Obviously, we're talking about that being the town hall. And so the next step then would be to start working on that village center design document, and then maybe to have public involvement meetings for those as well. The step after that is to create the zoning district, to adopt it, and then to rezone those properties to that district. And then finally, the last, on paper step is to establish the municipal service district, which would allow us to tax these properties at a commercial rate. Then we, leverage that money to build the common infrastructure. I've mentioned this a few times, but I can't mention this enough. All the properties that we're proposing to build water, sewer, and lighting and security, that will come from an increased tax that comes from only those properties. All of that I think could happen in a year. There are several steps, sub-steps within each of these steps, but I didn't want to really go into too much detail because these are the, overarching steps. And if you have any questions, I'm open to them.
Okay, my first question was, did we ever get the recommendations back?
From
the seminar?
Yeah, from CP&I. They are working on that report, and we will have that presentation. I think I'll probably be giving the presentation, but at the July 30th work session for council, it's on their agenda.
July?
July 30th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, next week. Next week's meeting. I'll be presenting it to the council.
So you have it?
I don't have it yet, but I will have it by the end of this week, apparently.
Okay.
I'll definitely have it by the work session. Then I'll be, analyzing and presenting it.
Is that something you can share, or do you want to just put it together? I mean, what's your plan on when you receive that information?
That's gonna be something that I put up a presentation and kind of go into it, kind of like I did with when I got the Parks and Greenway master plan draft. I got it, I looked at it, and then I gave council, the top 5, the breakdown of the structure and what they came out with, basically. I would be glad to share you that presentation once I make it. It will be sometime next week, if that's what you're asking.
No, I'm just curious. I mean, I'd like to, since I attended that, I'd like to see their recommendations, their report.
Mm-hmm. I can also put it on the agenda for next planning board meeting.
I assume it's gonna be a written document?
Yeah, it said it's 38 pages.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It'd be interesting to read.
Definitely like to see it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was a great meeting, and unfortunately, a lot of the people weren't able to attend, but it was very impressive.
That's needed. No, that really sets that really lays the groundwork. They did a lot of good work, a lot of good information for us there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I can share that report as well if that's what you're looking for. I can just email it out to all of you.
Yeah, I'd like to read that report as well.
Yeah, Paul? You said just agreed? Okay.
Yeah, just everybody, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
All right.
Okay, well, I didn't really have any action items for this item on the agenda.
Okay.
So if no one has any questions, we can move on.
Yeah.
No, but Rohit, thank you for putting that together. I think that's helpful.
Oh, no, my pleasure.
We'll go slow.
Do you think that's realistic, or is that aspirational?
Both. I hope to achieve what I aspire, if that's what you're asking. But I think it's possible, especially if we do a little more overlapping than the schedule kind of details. I mean, the zoning district and the municipal service district could, be happening at the same time. The village center design document is already largely made because it used to be the chapter 8 or whatever in the land use plan. And once we start diving into that, I'm going to borrow pretty much most of the material from that. It's all really good material. And the zoning district, I still think is also realistic because I do have a budget to hire a consultant for. So that means it can happen parallel to the district, the design document, because I can be doing that and the consultant could be doing the zoning district.
So would this involve, like, literally coming up with, the rules about signage, lighting, and building materials and all that fun stuff.
It would, but again, the design document has so much of that already that I'll be borrowing from material that's already been made, and that's going to save a lot of time, and it is really good, and it's also in a lot of ways some of the things are standard. You just take pedestrian scale infrastructure and you know in places at least 10 different towns, you know, that they gave us in the CPNI workshop that have already done things similar to what we're doing. I think there's not going to be a lot of creating things from scratch if I can, you know, wing this correctly.
Yeah, Rohit, I was actually going to ask you if you think the report will actually include graphics and details that we might be able to take from that CPNI report and use it in the old Section 8.
Well, I don't quite know what will be in the report until I see it. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay. I mean, I'm just, did they present anything that could be useful to us in that workshop?
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. So in like the post workshop time, I did have another meeting with them, and we kind of ironed out roughly, you know, what they were asking for us to have. What do we want to have in the report? And so, you know, I gave them a few, you know, things that we were looking for in the general sense of, you know, can we take this report and, you know, use it as a springboard to create the, you know, the foundation of this district, and they understood that. So maybe the answer is yes to your question.
Okay. Because just in terms of the public meetings, the input meetings, I think they're a way to do some graphic representations of possibilities that could be in the town. I don't know if you guys have ever done workshops where there are representations of different things all along the walls, and you take little sticky notes and, you know, you put them in like a very much agree, disagree, you know, like I like this one, or people just kind of vote with a sticky note or vote with a sticker or whatever. It's kind of a nice way for people to give input in terms of design.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure, but.
Right, I've definitely done that, and it's very good to do. So we have some renderings, and then we have some, you know, Google Earths we can take of similar towns. We can make, you know, nice pretty posters and hang up around the wall. Hopefully we'll be able to do that at a point where we can actually, you know, have a public meeting like that. And that'll be in several months anyway, so we'll see what happens with Corona. But yeah, I mean, I definitely want to be able to, you know, ping the public for their input several times throughout the process of establishing, you know, this village center district, you know, between now and as I have it like April, maybe even June. There'll be plenty of opportunities to have those kinds of meetings if it's possible.
Also start a Pinterest page.
Pinterest, huh? That's not a bad idea. Actually, I'm not even joking. Like, you can just... That is a good idea.
It's like an idea board, or, you know.
Yeah.
Vision board.
So, I mean, Pinterest is just a way to, you know, if I'm scrolling down a Pinterest feed and I say, oh, I like this, I'll save that, I'll save this, I'll save that. And then someone else could log into my Pinterest, or not log into it, but just to see my account and see what I liked. And then you see, oh, I see where you're going with this. It's possible, it's definitely possible.
And you can make comments on those pins to say, you know, because it might be that you like a cupola. You know, although they were talking about that freaking cupola for a while when they were talking about Village Hall, but, you know, you can specifically what you like about it, like, you know, like the pedestrian walkways here, or the tree-lined streets, or, you know, whatever it is, to give people a really good feel of vision.
That's great. I love it.
So, boys, we're gonna have to download Pinterest. Mike, are you on Pinterest?
Me?
Yeah.
I am not.
Yeah, fortunately you can use it in a
I just
browser.
thought I had to run and get some more water. I hope I didn't miss anything earth-shattering. Obviously I did if you're talking about Pinterest.
Okay, moving.
Yeah, potentially we could move on.
Let's see, are we moving on now, what, to comp plan?
Yeah, we are moving on to the comp plan. This is the big, this is the big heart-shattering thing that Mike is gonna be glad he didn't miss. So we've had a planning intern for the summer, and it's done a great job. The primary reason we hired a planning intern. Oh, I'm getting some feedback from you, Kelly, so I'm gonna mute you. Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, so the primary reason we hired an intern was to work on the comp plan, which was required by 160D. However, in the 11th hour, the state decided that they would no longer require us to have a comp plan. And it's not, and it's just, you just don't have to have a comp plan. So in the next page of that memo, I've included the script of the revised 160D, which just removes, it says reasonably maintain a comprehensive plan or land use plan now. So that said, our intern has been working on the comp plan, and we kind of even streamlined it to say, okay, if we're gonna plug this into chapter 6, hopefully we can put it in a way that is not, that does not include too much more words, so that, for all the time that you spent smithing chapters 1 through 5, I would hate to have to include another, 20, 50 pages of stuff, right? So we got 10 pages, mostly maps, and some paragraphs, and it's not ready yet, but I just wanted to, pull what is the, this is what a comp plan could have been, and kind of let's take that several steps down, just make it really concise. I'm gonna screen share my screen here, and I'm gonna roll real quick through it. Even page 1 is just a picture of the barn. So if we were to have a kind of like a set alone comp plan, we'd have an introduction of why we have a comp plan, and just to tell everyone why we have a comp plan is what it sets it apart from the land use plan. It goes into like a corridor level and a parcel level analysis of Marvin, and provides, since you can't know the future, it provides several scenarios on, yeah, that's not required anymore. It's not required, sorry. I'll strike that through because it's not required anymore. So we identify the issues of why we want to plan and what we're looking for. We state the goals of what we try to accomplish. And then we'll say, oh yeah, let me put this up here on the TV because John's having trouble seeing this, and I'll put it on the other switch. Okay.
Thank you.
That better?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. So then now I just wanted to also include the Parks and Greenways master plan map to show, again, this is a corridor level analysis, while the land use plan talks about generalities. This is what we like to see in Marvin as a whole. The comp plan goes into a corridor level analysis, and so we want to include the Parks and Greenways map. There's not really much to it, just to talk about it a little bit and why we want to plan for having such a network. It was supported in the survey. Stuff like this takes a lot of collaboration. A lot of the trails we want to build are not in Marvin, but we do want them there because they connect Marvin neighborhoods, etc. Then we talk about facilitating the village district, and I do have the subzones map here, just because it's just a parcel level, in-depth look of what the village center could be. We talk about ETJ and annexation, and then why we want to plan to manage development pressure. That's pretty much the main reason. And then we have some scenarios. And this is the big thing. If you look at the Union County comp plan, any other comp plans, you can't really know what's happening in 2050. So I have two scenarios. The less development scenario and the moderate development scenario. Or the less development scenario, basically, it takes the future land use map and presumes that some of those things don't happen. For example, and then the paragraph just says, say from now to 2050, people are so adverse to development that the village center doesn't happen, that commercial corridor district doesn't happen, and we pretty much remain residential. This is what Marvin would look like. And then scenario 2 would say, let's say we do have some of that development. Those green areas do develop into subdivisions, just normal regular subdivisions instead of remaining farms. We do have the village center and we do have that commercial corridor. This is what Marvin would look like in 2050. And that's about it. That's a conclusion. So the conclusion is essentially that, if we're actually looking towards the future on a parcel basis, on a corridor basis, we might have a better idea of why we're even planning, in the land use plan in the first place. Short, sweet, and I can even see if you just even want to remove the issues and goals part, because that's kind of established in the land use plan, and just kind of stick to the maps and the description of them. And I also wanted to kind of make this largely a supplement to the land use plan, as opposed to its own standalone document, because again, it's not required anymore. So that's all I have about it. And I would like, just first, I'd just like the general, consensus on, to what extent do you want to include these things into the chapter 6, and then maybe more specific comments.
Well, I still had a hard time personally getting my arms around what a comp plan is versus a land use plan.
Mm-hmm.
And, and what does this accomplish? Or what information other than the parks and the trails it may, and I'm not sure what it says over and above what we've already said.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that is one of the reasons why, we actually did have a lot more in that comp plan going into it, but we did take out a lot of it because now we realize it's not needing to be its own comp plan, but rather a supplement to the land use plan. So what it does accomplish, and I'm trying to scroll through the land use plan so you can kind of realize that now, while the land use plan is very essential, it is mostly text. And the only pictures really are just an overall image of today.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the comp plan, and if you look at the land use plan today, the chapter 6 is the future land use map, right?
Yeah.
So the comp plan is where you go into, taking those issues and you take the issues and the goals that you stated in your land use plan, and I'm looking for a word here, like you implement them on the actual map of Marvin. Like all of this stuff that you say you want, what could that look like? So up here, wait, let me switch back. Let's see, up here in the Parks and Recreation Center section, you say how vital it is for walkability. Up here in the commercial area, you say how important it is to consider limited development, right? And then so in the comprehensive plan, you now have those scenarios where, what does consider limiting development look like? Well, there's a couple of scenarios. We have that one commercial district in Marvin Gardens. If you say the less development scenario is enough, maybe that's enough. And scenario 2, which is the higher development scenario, I even say, ultimately, even the moderate development scenario preserves most of Marvin as single-family residential, but this is just about as much commercial as we'd think about doing. We'd look about doing it in the village center, we'd look about doing it on Providence Road, and there's already some existing on Ray Road and Tom Short, but we would not add any more. This is what Marvin could look like in 2050. This is actual implementation of all the words that we said in the land use plan.
Rohit, what do you want us to do with this document at this point?
Given that the comprehensive plan is not required anymore, I wanted to get your feedback of how much of this concept do you actually want to incorporate in section 6? Do you want to just, do you want to maybe include the scenarios and maybe the parks map? Do you want to include some of the text and, start wordsmithing that? Or maybe we just keep it to the future land use map and maybe put this just kind of on the shelf. That would be kind of sad, but I mean, it's potential to maybe just go to the future land use map, and we'll obviously have to explain the future land use map a little bit. So we will take some text from that comp plan and put it with the future land use map, but essentially, we might just take some of the text from here and some of the text from here and some of the text from here and then put it in chapter 6. Why is this going so slow? And then just put it in chapter 6 along with that future land use map. So I kind of went through that really fast, but there are a few options that I'm laying on the table and I want to get some direction on it.
So Rohit, I guess I'll start with the old saying that if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Mm-hmm.
So my first reaction is, if you're not required to put something in, it's hard for me to envision spending the time on it and working on it to get it to where it would be includable. And with that, I will add my deepest apologies to Austin.
Matthew, the other intern, yeah.
And I will say that if you plan on working around government, get used to this, because it won't be the last time you work on something and somebody changes their mind and does away with a rule.
Or corporations as well. Any.
But if we're going to include it, then I do think we as a board have to spend some time with it, read it, get comfortable with it, make some changes as we're going to do. I'm okay with that, but my gut reaction is, if it's not required, it's hard for me to envision us spending our time on it.
That's my thing, I'm not sure, with the exception of, the parks map, which is available somewhere, what does it really add to what we've already got? If that.
I mean, it lays out the what ifs. And that's kind of cool, and I wouldn't mind spending some time thinking about that, because we've written this generic document, and this kind of puts it into relief. Says, okay, here's what you all just told us in those last 120 pages. Here's what would happen if we follow that. So I think that's kind of neat, and I would definitely like to spend a long time looking it over.
You definitely get the point of a comp plan. I can see that.
What's that?
I think you understand the point of the comp plan, and I appreciate that.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Again, it's just hard for me to envision the board spending its time now refining it to the point where it would meet our standards, so to speak, to be included. But it's neat. It's a neat document.
Can I, and Rohit, tell me if I'm causing you feedback, but what you're on right now, why is this map not in the land use plan?
What, this one right here?
Yes.
Trail. Well, we did just adopt this plan in June. So that's one reason.
Could it be in the land use plan? Because I've never seen this, and
it most certainly could. PRG did a lot of work on this one, as well as the consultant. We hired Destination by Design for the Parks and Greenways master plan update. We basically got a consultant to do this whole plan update for them. And this is the map that they put in it as the well, it was a Greenway map network that we already had, but they made it look pretty, and then they came up with a table of types, lengths, and costs.
Yeah, I thought we did the table, but the map is fantastic, and I think it's part of land use, so it should be included.
Yeah, sure. I think, I mean, to not, I guess, it is unfortunate that a lot of the work that Matthew did is gonna go. But to say that at least we put this map in and some of the text that went with it, and then this table has to go with the map because if you see the maps, they're just, whoa. The segments are just numbered, and then the table explains what the segments are. So I would try to include both of those things, and then a short description. And then if you take not this, but the future land use map, and then a description of, again, why we have a future land use map, how it assimilates the text in the previous chapters, and then just associate that text with this map, that would be pretty substantial, improvement to the content of the plan without too much text, and also looking at maps that we already talked about a lot.
Hey, one more quick question I tried to include in the chat, but I know that light blue section is the proposed annexation.
Yeah.
When you get to the dense, like the more developed, like scenario 2 in the future land use plan, why is that area not green? Like, why is it still considered proposed if we were to, like, that would be the most developed?
Yeah. I don't know. I guess just because we haven't annexed it yet, I didn't want to say I didn't want to use any language that we did.
Right, but this is the 2050 modern development scenario. Like, if we're assuming that things are going to happen, wouldn't we change those to, instead of proposed annex, to annexed or not annexed? Or
Oh yes. I see what you're saying. I think you're right. So since this is the scenario that the annexation happened, if we were to include that. This is pretty similar to the future land use map that you guys are talking about. And that's
the point I was making, is basically it looks identical to what.
Right, but it kind of, and there might have been if the survey didn't so sharply reject it, there might have been a higher development scenario where there was more commercial, but it's pretty obvious to me that even in 2050 there's not going to be any more commercial in this, so I didn't bother with that. But in a 3 scenario comp plan, you would see that, let's see, you'd see that the low development scenario has almost no commercial, and then the medium one has this much commercial, and then a higher development one could have, I don't know, some places where you'd even put more commercial. And that's what the purpose of that would be, to see a low, medium, and high, and then know that these are 3 possibilities, that one of them might be the one that we try to aim for. But again, if, I don't know, I'm kind of walking a fine line here even presenting this to you, because again, we've kind of had this dramatic twist where they don't require it anymore. But if they did require it, you'd have to have these kinds of things in it.
Yeah, but like I said, personally, I'm with Paul that I think we more or less covered all this ground already, and it's just saying the same thing over again, and we've got to start over with in great detail, and we don't go very fast.
Yeah, I know. A lot of this text, it would take several months to, again, as Paul said, get up to your standard, and I appreciate that, again, because I appreciate that you have such high standards. But then again, I know that you're ready to get this thing adopted, and adding too much more new stuff would very much hinder that timeline.
Could we just use this as maybe a living document? So like not necessarily internal, but something that we use to plan with, or that we update based on whatever's happening in the land use plan, that we make happen, and we update this comprehensive plan, in case it ever is, asked of us in the future.
Yeah, I can see that happening too. In the case that we don't throw it in the garbage, but we keep it on the shelf, and as people come and propose things, maybe 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we'll be able to keep those, the underlying data files, and use those for other things. I could see that happening too. Okay, so I guess it was a lot of things that I was asking in the beginning. I think based on the conversation, what I'm hearing, I don't think I'm hearing any other sides of the story. I think I guess it would be nice to include this map with some text that explains what it is.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad addition, but.
And then to include basically just the future land use map, which is here, and then some explanation of what this is in its separate parts, and then just call that chapter 6. Can we at least get a or no?
Well, do we need chapter 6 is the question.
Do we need it at all? Is
Yeah.
your question.
At this point, do we need a chapter 6?
I guess not if you don't want it.
No, as far as the state's concerned, or, the latest iteration of the ordinance.
Okay, so I guess yes. It says here, a land use plan uses text and maps to designate the future use or reuse of land. So you will at least need the future land use map, which goes in chapter 6 as it stands. That's in A1, and that was in the memo.
Okay. So that's where the future land use plan map goes, is chapter 6.
Yeah, so a land use map needs a map. The land use plan needs this map to be complete in the eyes of the state. So
It
you need
doesn't
at
go
least
in
that.
chapter, anyway, that's where it has to go, is 6.
Yeah, I suppose.
All right, okay.
That's how I interpret this anyway.
So there, we can put would the trails map go there, or would it go in the chapter, whatever it is we've already got?
Could go in chapter 8 appendix, I suppose.
Or in the Parks and Greenway chapter, or whatever it was.
That's a sub-chapter of chapter 5.
Yeah.
Could go there too. I think the more important part, rather than where it goes right now, is the text that will accompany it. And I guess we'll try to keep it real simple, and hopefully knock it out in the next week so I can get Matthew's help on that. I'm talking maybe 3 sentences, 5 at most, just explaining what it is.
Okay.
And then you all can review that at the next meeting.
Okay. Agreement, everyone? Disagreement?
I'm in agreement with that. Sounds good.
Yep,
Okay.
I agree.
Moving on. Code reorganization project.
Okay, so this code reorganization, again, part of my update today is gonna have to do with the curveball that the state has already enacted 160D. Whereas it used to be that, just before this, it was gonna be enacted in January of next year. But the code reorganization project is it's complete to the point, from the perspective of the consultant. We're again kind of working on transferring over that to our new code host, which is Encode Plus. But as far as the planning board is concerned, I'm gonna have to bring all of that to the planning board, and so my timeline right now is I'm gonna give the council kind of like a 10-minute, 15-minute, here's where we are with that, here's what happened. And then at the next planning board meeting, we're gonna start diving into it, where I'll have this like, you know, the website with the whole thing laid out. You know, this is what it looks like now, and it actually looks great. They did a lot of consolidating, removing redundancies, and just like putting all the things that you'd need like in the same place. And not only that, but the system, like the web host that we're using now, it's so much better than the previous one in a lot of ways. That I will show you at the next meeting, because I don't really need to go into too much of it right now. It's easier to find things, it's easier to use, and for the people looking at the ordinances and the people, you know, us that are working on the ordinances. So, I'm really happy with what I'm seeing.
What is the board going to have to do? I mean, we're not going to be going through all the ordinances.
No. And that's the biggest, right. The biggest reason why, you know, the previous council was okay with this project is because it was mostly strictly a reorganization. The planning board statutorily is responsible for reviewing any revisions to zoning ordinances. And so there are going to be those ordinances that had to be updated because of 160D. And I mean, a lot of this is just going to be you guys looking through it and saying, okay, they updated it because of 160D, you know, one after another. But there are about 10 of them or so that are just, you know, updated also because they needed to be, you know, updated. And so the combination of all those things are what you're going to be reviewing, not the overall project, but just the here and there. What did they expressly change from what was written before?
So we'll review the old and the new and
then figure out. Yeah. Mostly it's going to be like that.
Are we going to be wordsmithing, or are we going to?
I mean, they had an attorney that looked at a lot of this stuff, so I don't know if there's going to be much need for wordsmithing, especially because, you know, they decided that obviously they recommend what we should change it to, and that's what we probably should do. It'll make sense when you see it.
Okay. It's not going to be another couple of years.
It can't be, because we have to adopt that by July of next year. So
Okay.
we have at most 1 year to kick this down the can, but let's try to knock it out in less than that.
Okay. All right.
That's all I have.
Action items.
Okay, here's what I have. Rohit will make a table on utilities for the village. Rohit will update the map graphics in the land use plan. Rohit will replace the previous vision and mission statements with the updated ones. Rohit and myself will send out the advertisements for the public hearings for the CUPs. Okay. Rohit will remove references to second floor residential over first floor commercial, as well as bed and breakfast. We'll also make general corrections to the land use plan. I will put out a notice of potential. No, we're not doing the public. We're not doing the public input meeting, so I can strike that. Okay. Rohit will distribute CP&I report to the board once received, and he will show off the new code system at the next meeting. Did I miss anything?
Technically, we don't put out the public hearing notices until the council calls for it at the next meeting, but I mean, we're gonna end up doing that, so. But other than that, I don't see anything really. General edits to the land use plan. I have the, what was said in here?
All right. Got on.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, do you want to introduce yourself?
I guess I probably should. I communicated over email.
You're gonna have to lean in a little bit.
I'm gonna have to lean in. Hello, everyone. I'm Austin. I'm the new clerk with the village. It's a pleasure to meet you, and I look forward to working with y'all in the future.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Member comments. What do we got? I'm looking at pictures. Kelly, any comments?
No, I'm sorry about the feedback. I have no idea why I'm causing it. Austin, welcome. And that's it.
Thank you.
I lost everybody. Melinda, I think you were next as far as my pictures. Any comment?
Yeah, we'll say welcome to Austin. I've got no comments.
All right, Michael.
As well. Welcome, Austin. Look forward to meeting you.
Paul.
And you as well.
Welcome, Austin. Again, sorry for all that work you did on the project and for not
That's-
gonna end up using
that's-
most of it. But
Hey, that's Matthew. That's the planning intern. He's on the call as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he's our planning intern, and he's actually gone. This is his last week.
Well, good to meet you.
What an ending.
And Mark.
No further comments, and I've already welcomed Austin, so I'll leave it at that. I'm definitely glad to have you aboard.
I don't have anything. I think it was productive tonight. Thank everybody. We're starting to see the end of the road as far as land use plan.
Is that your way of asking for a motion to conclude?
Adjourn.
Yes. All in favor?
So moved.
Aye.
Aye.
Who made the motion?
Mark.
Mark, okay.
Maybe we'll get together next month.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Live, you mean? Yeah.
All right, we're
Thanks a
over.
lot.
Thank you,
All right.
everybody.
All right, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good
Good
night.
night.
Bye.
I actually got more of the minutes done than I thought I would. I'll have to go over some of the CUP stuff in detail.
Don't forget to cut off your
Oh,
recording.
cut that off.